Chapter 979. Huamin suddenly pushed Zhou Guangwei away and rushed over like a madwoman. She hugged Qin Chu tightly as tears blurred her vision. She couldn't see anything clearly. The scar-faced man raised his gun again and aimed it at Huamin. Bang! This time, it was Gao Ran's gun. This was the scene he saw when he arrived. Huamin hugged Qin Chu and cried her heart out. Qin Chu still had a dagger in his chest and his face was pale. He had completely fainted. The scar-faced criminal on the ground was holding a gun and aiming it at Huamin's back. She didn't have any intention of dodging. She only thought that if something happened to Qin Chu, she wouldn't be able to live either. Gao Ran didn't have time to think. Bang, bang, bang. He fired 3 consecutive shots at the scar-faced man. He killed him. Then, the police rushed in and subdued all the criminals. Quick, carry Qin Chu to the ambulance. Gao Ran saw the urgency of the situation and waved his hand. The ambulance that he brought immediately came in to carry Huamin, but Huamin refused to let go. She hugged Qin Chu tightly and sat there. Miss, we're going to carry him up. Don't touch him, none of you touch him. Huamin was completely dumbfounded. She had lost the ability to think properly. Huamin, don't worry, we have to save people. Qin Chu's condition is too dangerous. If we don't save him in time, Gao Ran didn't have the heart to continue. He walked over and pulled Huamin away. Then he gave the paramedics a look. The 2 men immediately carried Qin Chu into the ambulance. At this time, Huamin suddenly snatched the gun from Gao Ran's hand when he wasn't paying attention. Huamin! Gao Ran didn't have time to shout. Huamin fired a shot at Zhou Guangwei. Because she hadn't been trained, her marksmanship wasn't very accurate, so she didn't hit the center point. It was Zhou Guangwei's lower abdomen. Huamin, don't be impulsive, stop it. Gao Ran rushed over and grabbed Huamin's hand tightly. Firing a gun in front of the police was definitely not allowed. Firstly, the criminals had already surrendered. When they returned to the court, the police would convict them. Secondly, Huamin was not a police officer. He had no right to shoot at people. This was an illegal act. However, she didn't care about that. While Gao Ran wasn't paying attention, she still did this crazy thing. Gao Ran held her tightly. He watched as Huamin lost all rationality and went crazy. In the end, he had no choice but to hit her hard on the back of her neck. Only then did Huamin completely pass out. Take everyone away, Gao Ran ordered. Captain, what do we do with this injured woman? We only have 1 ambulance, and we've already saved President Qin and Lady Qin. Gao Ran glanced at Zhou Guangwei, who was shot. She clutched her lower abdomen, which was bleeding non-stop. Huamin's shot wasn't enough to kill her immediately, but it was enough to make her want to die. If she didn't get resuscitated, she would probably die from bleeding at this rate. Don't worry about it, let's leave it to fate, Gao Ran said coldly. As a police officer, you don't care if I live or die. Do you even have human rights? Even if I'm a criminal, you still have to save me without a trial. Zhou Guangwei was highly educated, so she knew the law very well. Gao Ran turned around and looked at her coldly. Human rights are defined by people, and you can no longer be called a person. You're a crazy woman. Even if you don't die this time, once the trial is over, you'll still be sentenced to death. Hell will be waiting for you. For the first time, Gao Ran didn't deal with this situation from the perspective of a police officer. Instead, he stood as a friend of Qin Chu and Huamin. If it weren't for the fact that there were so many people around, he would have shot Zhou Guangwei 3 times and killed her. The ambulance sped all the way to Southside Recuperation Center. Because the first hospital was located in the city center, they would be delayed if there was a traffic jam. For them, time was of the essence. Gao Ran immediately got off the highway and sent the 2 of them directly to Southside Recuperation Center. Then, they were immediately sent to the emergency room for resuscitation. Huasiqian and Su Yu rushed to Southside as soon as they heard about the news. In the corridor of the emergency room, Wei Liao, Jiang Xiaowei, and the others were all there. The corridor was filled with people. How is it? How's Huamin? Su Yu was extremely worried. Qin Chu was shot, and Huamin is also seriously injured. They're being resuscitated right now, Gao Ran said sadly. Su Yu's face was ashen. He took a few steps back and leaned against the wall, dispirited. Huasiqian kept his head down and didn't say anything. The atmosphere was unprecedentedly heavy. Chapter 980. When Huamin woke up again, it was already 6 hours later. Qin Chu. No, don't do anything stupid. She was still dreaming. Huamin woke up in Southside's VIP intensive care unit. Her body was still very weak. When the nurse saw that she had woken up, she immediately handed her a glass of water with a straw. Huamin drank a few mouthfuls in a daze before she felt a little bit of strength return to her body. She slowly opened her eyes and saw the blinding light in the room and the snow-white ceiling. Where's Qin Chu? Where is he? Huamin's voice was very soft. Dr. Hua, don't worry. Your lover is still in the emergency room. You should rest first. I want to find him. I want to see him. Huamin didn't care about anything else as she propped herself up. Then, with trembling hands, she pulled out the 4 in her hand and walked down. Perhaps it was because her body was too weak, so before her feet touched the ground, she fell to the ground with a plop. Dr. Hua, don't be impulsive. You shouldn't get out of bed yet. You need to rest. No, I want to see him. Huamin only had one thought in her mind, and that was that she had to see Qin Chu. Otherwise, she wouldn't give up. The nurse didn't expect Dr. Hua to have such a stubborn side. She didn't know what to do. She wanted to help her up, but Huamin reached out and blocked her hand. Don't worry about me, I have to see him. Then, Huamin used all the strength in her body to get up and walk out step by step. Instead of walking, it was more like moving her feet. Dr. Hua, I'll help you over. Seeing that Huamin was struggling to walk, the nurse rushed over to help her. The nurse rushed up again to help Huamin. This time, she didn't refuse. With the help of the nurse, she walked faster. She could see Qin Chu as soon as possible. Right now, Huamin only had Qin Chu in her mind. She didn't think about anything else. Everyone was stunned when they saw Huamin walk out of the ward. Su Yu rushed forward anxiously. Are you crazy? Do you want to die? You're already like that. Why aren't you resting? What are you doing out here? Huamin directly ignored Su Yu, who was talking to her, and kept walking forward. Her eyes were also dull. Little sister me, what you need to do now is rest, Huasiqian said, his heart aching. Huamin continued to ignore him. Huamin. Jiang Shaowei looked at Huamin and started crying. Maybe it was because pregnant women were more emotional, but her heart ached when she saw Huamin like this. The Huamin in front of her was no longer the woman who was calm in the face of danger and handled everything calmly. She was like an injured child. Her eyes were filled with panic and helplessness. She was so lonely and helpless. She continued to walk forward as if no one was around. She wanted to see Qin Chu one more time. Slightly, don't cry. They'll be fine. Wei Liao felt bad for his wife. He hugged Jiang Shaowei and comforted her. Huamin, you really shouldn't come out like this. Don't worry, I believe that Qin Chu will be fine. He doesn't want anything to happen to you. Go back and rest. Gao Ran looked haggard. Looking at Huamin like this, he felt terrible. Where's Qin Chu? Where is he? I want to see him. He's still in the emergency room. Gao Ran didn't dare to hide it from her, so he told her the truth. Huamin suddenly turned around and rushed to the door of the emergency room. She knocked on the door with all her might. She pounded on the door of the emergency room with both hands. She pounded on the door again and again until her palms turned red. Open the door, open the door. I want to see him. I want to see Qin Chu right now. Hurry up and open the door, I want to see him. Huamin's voice was so hoarse that people who were familiar with her couldn't tell that it was her voice. Huamin, don't be like this. Gao Ran went up to her and pulled her back. However, she refused to leave. She kept pounding on the door, demanding to see Qin Chu. Huamin, she's crazy, Wei Liao said in a low voice. Chapter 981. She's just been suppressing her feelings for Qin Chu for too long. No one knows how much she loves him. Now, she's finally letting it all out. Jiang Shaowei knew Huamin better than anyone else. Huamin was a classic example of someone who was cold on the outside but warm on the inside. To outsiders, She was too cold and calm when it came to Qin Chu. The truth was, Qin Chu had always been a god in her heart, and no one could replace him. Su Yu looked at Huamin and felt as if someone had dug a big hole in his heart. It hurt so much that he couldn't breathe. She was such a calm and collected woman, but at this moment, she was pounding on the door like a crazy woman. In the end, she cared too much about him. It turned out that loving someone so deeply could drive them to this extent. It turned out that Qin Chu was Huamin's only weakness. Su Yu was furious. He strode over, grabbed Huamin's collar, and dragged her back. Then, he pinned her against the wall in the hallway. "Huamin, wake up? He's still in the emergency room. You can't do anything by pounding on the door like this. Wake up. Let go of me, I want to see him." Huamin only had one terrifying thought in her mind. She had to see Qin Chu no matter what. "You can't see him right now. He's in the middle of the surgery. He was shot. We don't know if he's dead or alive. You can't do anything by going crazy. Instead, you'll implicate the doctor who's going to operate on him. Where did your calmness go? Where did the pretentious Huamin go?" Su Yu also went crazy and roared at Huamin. Everyone was dumbfounded. "Su, don't be like this." Huaxiqian couldn't stand it anymore. After all, Huamian hadn't regained her consciousness and was as smart as a child. Would Su Yu scare her with his angry roar? Unexpectedly, just as Huaxiqian's hand touched Su Yu mercilessly flung it away. "Don't touch me. Am I wrong? If you care about her, you can't let her continue to go crazy." After that, Su Yu stared at Huamin with bloodshot eyes and said, "If you still want Qin Chu to be fine, then shut up and go back to rest. Otherwise, even if he survives, I will shoot him to death." "You?" Huamin was stunned and wanted to say something. Su Yu pointed at the nurse and scolded, "What are you still doing here? Take her back." "No, I want." Huamin didn't finish his sentence. Su Yu grabbed Huamin's collar and dragged her back to the ICU. Although Huamin struggled with all her might, she couldn't resist Su Yu at all. "Su Yu, isn't he too violent?" Huaxiqian rubbed his forehead, very conflicted. "It seems like our Lord Su has also gone crazy." Wei Liao sighed slightly. Huamin went crazy because he cared about Qin Chu. Su Yu went crazy because he cared about Huamin. This series of terrifying chain reactions frightened the others so much that they didn't dare to say a word. After Huamin was dragged back to the ICU by Su Yu, she was injected with a sedative because she was emotionally unstable. Su Yu watched as Huamin fell asleep after she was injected with the sedative. His footsteps were very light, as if he had been drained of all his energy. No one knew how much his heart hurt when he treated Huamin like that, but he couldn't do anything about it. He couldn't bear to see her half dead, so he wanted her to pull herself together. He wanted her to be the fearless, arrogant Huamin that could overcome any obstacle. "How is she?" Huaxiqian asked with concern. "She was injected with a sedative and is asleep now," Su Yu replied with a serious expression. Everyone let out a sigh of relief when they heard this. Just then, the door to the ICU opened. When the chief surgeon walked out, his expression was serious. "Doctor, how is my friend?" Gao Ran anxiously asked. Chapter 982. "He's alive for now." "What do you mean, temporarily?" Gao Ran heard the key point and asked nervously. "The patient's injuries are too severe. Fortunately, he knows medicine, so the stab wound to his chest wasn't fatal. The force of the stab was just right, so it didn't cause a hemorrhage. Otherwise, he would have died from excessive blood loss. We've already put him on N4, but..." The doctor paused on purpose. He didn't know what he was going to say next. "But what?" Gao Ran continued to ask. "But the stab wound was fatal. We weren't sure if we could successfully remove the bullet, so we didn't do it for now. However, the wound is fatal, so we can't not remove it. For now, we can only give him an injection to prevent infection. He won't last more than 48 hours, so we have to remove the bullet within 48 hours. "Then why don't we remove it now?" Gao Ran knew that the bullet wasn't removed yet. The doctor shook his head. "It's not as simple as you think. The bullet is less than a centimeter away from the heart. If there's a slight mistake, it will damage the main blood supply next to the heart and immediately cause a heart hemorrhage. Once the heart hemorrhage, the person will die in less than a minute. Then what should we do? Gao Ran's heart sank when he heard the doctor's words. He leaned against the wall dispiritedly. His face was pale. We're going to discuss this with President Wu and see what the success rate is. Then, the chief surgeon left with his assistant. Everyone fell silent again. Does he mean that Qin Chu's chances of survival are slim? Hua Xiqian asked with a complicated expression. How could this be? Oh my God, if something happens to him, how is Huamin going to live? Jiang Shaowei covered her mouth. She felt terrible. She leaned against Wei Liao's shoulder and sobbed again. Are these doctors useless? They're just taking out a bullet. I've been shot before in the army, but I've never seen anyone act like this. If you can't do it, just transfer them to the military base in Jing City. I'll call my old man right now. Su Yu had always thought of Qin Chu as his opponent, but he didn't want to waste any more time. However, he would never kick a man when he was down, especially after seeing how important he was to Huamin. Lord Su, calm down. We can't transfer him to another hospital right now. Qin Chu was shot, and the bullet's location is critical. The surgery will be difficult, and he won't be able to handle the turbulence. Plus, we don't have enough time. We'll need another surgery within 48 hours, Wei Liao explained. Then get all the medical experts in the capital to fucking bring me here. After that, Su Yu picked up his phone and made a call as he walked. Hello? It's urgent. Let my grandfather hear it. He seemed to have called Lord Su's assistant. Su Yu really put in a lot of effort this time. Gao Ran looked gratefully at Su Yu's back. For the first time, he felt that he didn't hate Su Yu. He was such a real man. He didn't kick a man when he was down, nor did he gloat. Instead, when Qin Chu was in need, he didn't hesitate to use his family's connections. Huamin was lucky to be liked by someone like him, right? Qin Chu should be proud to have such an opponent, right? At least Su Yu was open and above board. At least Su Yu wouldn't leave him in the lurch. While everyone was worried about Qin Chu's safety, Hua Xiqian quietly walked to Huamin's room. Through the glass window, he looked at her sleeping figure. His eyes were filled with love, heartache, and a little gentleness. To be honest, he didn't care about the life or death of anyone in this world, except for Huamin. He wasn't interested in Qin Chu's life or death. He even hoped that Qin Chu would never wake up. That way, he wouldn't have to do it himself. What he cared about was that Huamin was fine and alive by his side. Does Huamin's mother know? Jiang Shaowei looked at Gao Ran and asked. Gao Ran shook his head, but I've already notified Uncle Qin. As soon as Gao Ran finished speaking, he saw Qin Yumin rushing over with his wife. Behind them was Song Yisher, who was wearing a beige dress and had a head of black hair. Gao Ran, how's Qin Chu? Qin Yumin looked at Gao Ran and asked worriedly. Chapter 983. Uncle Qin, he isn't in a good condition right now. Gao Ran felt a little guilty and didn't know how to explain this to Qin Chu's family. When Qin Chu went to save Huamin, he went alone and didn't tell anyone. In the end, Gao Ran felt that something was wrong and secretly sent someone to follow Qin Chu. That was how they arrived in time. Otherwise, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Oh my God, how did my son get shot? What the hell happened? Lady Qin was already crying and wiping away her tears. They only received news that Qin Chu was shot and was in the hospital for emergency treatment. Song Yisher was drinking tea with Qin Chu and Qin Chu's parents. When she heard the news, she couldn't wait to come over. She looked quite worried. Gao Ran looked at them and slowly explained, here's what happened. Huamin was kidnapped and Qin Chu went to save him. In the end, both of them were injured. Qin Chu was shot, so he's in a bit more trouble. But don't worry, I believe that Qin Chu will be fine. Gao Ran evaded the details and told them what happened. Everyone understood. Qin Yumin's face darkened and he didn't say anything. Lady Qin immediately exploded. What? To save Huamin? Why does she have to do with everything? Didn't I say that my son wouldn't get shot for no reason? This jinx really wants to jinx my son to death. In advance, I found a fortune teller to compare their horoscopes. The fortune teller said that they didn't get along, but my son didn't believe me. Look at what happened now. Now he's dead because of that woman. Lady Qin blamed everything on Huamin. Song Yisher held onto Lady Qin's arm with a heavy expression. Mama Qin, calm down. I believe that Qin Chu will be fine. Where's that little bitch Huamin? I'm going to find her. Lady Qin looked around, thinking that Huamin was also here. Jiang Shaowei couldn't stand it anymore. She stood up and said, "You have to understand that Huamin is also injured. Isn't it all her fault? She deserves to be unlucky and even implicated my son." Lady Qin looked vicious. Jiang Shaowei was even angrier when she heard this. Come on. They're married. What do you mean implicated? If you get kidnapped one day and your husband goes to save you, that's unlucky as well. You have to think before you speak. Don't say anything without thinking. You're a rich lady. Don't be like a shrew, especially when you're slandering your own daughter-in-law. That's the woman that your son is willing to risk his life to protect. Hey, who are you? What do you have to do with this? Lady Qin glared at Jiang Shaowei and rolled her eyes. I'm Huamin's friend. I just can't stand people slandering him. You're welcome to do it. Jiang Shaowei looked like a tough woman. She directly started a fight with Qin Chu's mother. Slightly, calm down, she's an elder after all, Wei Liao quietly reminded his hot-tempered wife. What a joke, whose elder is she? If she deserves respect, I'll respect her. If she doesn't deserve respect, why would I pretend to be a white lotus? Huamin is still in the ICU with injuries all over his body. His mother doesn't even know about it. He's lying there right now, and people are scolding him behind his back. What the fuck? You're such an uneducated woman. Lady Qin was furious when she heard Jiang Shaowei curse. She pointed at Jiang Shaowei's nose and scolded her. Mama Qin, forget it, let's stop arguing. Qin Chu is still in the ICU, let's go see him. Song Yisher didn't like to argue with people in public, so she always paid attention to her perfect image. Song Yisher dragged Lady Qin towards Qin Chu's ICU. Wei Liao and Jiang Shaowei also left the hospital. In the middle of the night, Zhu Lingling got off the plane. She didn't have time to sleep, so she took a taxi straight to the hospital. Gao Ran hadn't left yet, so he went to the door to pick her up. How's Huamin? She's fine, but she's emotionally unstable. Where's Qin Chu? Zhu Lingling asked anxiously. He's not very optimistic. Why didn't you tell me something so big happened? Zhu Lingling complained to Gao Ran. Chapter 984. I didn't want you to worry. Gao Ran quietly followed behind Zhu Lingling. If you tell me now, I won't worry anymore. What kind of logic is that? You're such a pig brain. Zhu Lingling glared at Gao Ran and complained. She was wearing a long black cashmere coat with a bow tied around her waist. She was wearing medium-length black leather boots, and when she walked, she looked a little flirtatious. Zhu Lingling was fair. Although she wasn't particularly beautiful, she wasn't bad either. Most importantly, in this era where plastic surgery was the norm, a natural beauty like Zhu Lingling would naturally have a very recognizable face. Gao Ran had feelings for Zhu Lingling since they were in school, but Zhu Lingling had a fiery temper. Gao Ran didn't dare to confess because he was afraid that if she rejected him, it would be really awkward and they wouldn't even be friends anymore. So, the two of them had always been hesitant. Zhu Lingling, on the other hand, thought that Gao Ran hated her, so she didn't even think about it. Over the years, she had been in a lot of relationships, but they all ended in failure. After going around in circles, the two of them were now single, and the more they walked, the more they seemed to have a chance. In Huamin's words, there was already a chance for them to be together. Hey, you're walking so fast in heels, I'm speechless, Gao Ran muttered as he followed behind Zhu Lingling. Do you know what you're talking about? What do you mean by heels? Mine is only 5 centimeters tall, okay? Didn't you see what mine looks like at 7 centimeters? Zhu Lingling retorted. The two of them walked all the way to the VIP intensive care unit on the top floor. Huamin and Qin Chu's rooms were a few rooms apart, and the Qin family members were all outside Qin Chu's room. Song Yisher was still standing at the door with a small handkerchief. She kept wiping her tears. Those who didn't know would think that she was Qin Chu's wife. Zhu Lingling asked unhappily, "Why is that woman here? What does it have to do with her?" "He came with Uncle Qin and the others, so I can't chase him away." He has the right to visit you. The two chatted as they walked. When Zhu Lingling arrived at the door of the ward, she couldn't wait to rush in. Then, it became a little awkward. She saw Huasiqian covering Huamin with a blanket. There was a tenderness in his eyes that she had never seen before. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she wouldn't have believed that Huasiqian would treat Huamin so well. He was just like a real brother. When he saw Zhu Lingling walk in, Huasiqian didn't feel awkward at all. He stood up and walked out. Since you're here, I'll take my leave first. Gao Ran nodded. After Huasiqian left, Zhu Lingling put down her bag, took off her jacket, and walked over to Huamin. Her face was pale, and she was wearing a hospital gown. She had already fallen into a deep sleep. Oh my God, what the hell? Those damn kidnappers. Remember to shoot them in the head when you shoot them. They're inhumane. Zhu Lingling's heart ached when she saw how weak Huamin was. All these years, he hadn't seen Huamian's weak side. Gao Ran scratched the tip of his nose and didn't dare to make a sound. He didn't dare to tell Zhu Lingling that when the prisoners recorded their statements, they said that Huamin was beaten up because he refused to call Qin Chu. He was even hung in a bucket and almost drowned. It was simply inhumane. Has Huamin ever woken up? Zhu Lingling asked as she held Huamin's hand and placed it in her palm. She woke up once. She was very emotional, like a crazy person. She wanted to see Qin Chu and even smashed the door of the ore. She cares too much about Qin Chu. I didn't think Huamin loved Qin Chu so much before. Gao Ran scratched the back of his head. Huamin really opened his eyes this time. That's because you're stupid. Our Mian is the slow type. You can never see how good she is to someone on the surface, but she'll use her actions to prove it. She hasn't had a baby yet. Last time, she went with me to see a traditional Chinese doctor and took a lot of Chinese medicine. The smell made me sick, but she drank it 3 times a day. After drinking it, she couldn't help but throw up. Then she drank it again and forced herself to drink it, all so that she could give birth to Qin Chu's child, Zhu Lingling said quietly. Gao Ran licked his lips. Then she's really good. What do you think? If Huamin didn't love Qin Chu, would she be willing to do all this? Zhu Lingling asked. But right now, Qin Chu might not even wake up. Gao Ran's words once again made Zhu Lingling's expression extremely ugly. She turned her head and looked at Gao Ran in shock. What did you say? Chapter 985. Mian, don't worry, Qin Chu's fine. He's in the ICU next door. I want to go see him, Huamin said as she stood up. Hey, you're very weak right now, you can't walk around. Girl, trust me, I won't lie to you. Qin Chu's really fine. Zhu Lingling knew that Huamin was afraid that everyone would lie to her. That was why she was anxious to see if Qin Chu was really in the ICU right now. Lingling, I want to see him with my own eyes. Huamin's eyes were filled with tears, as if she had been wronged. Oh, hey, don't cry, I'll take you there. But let's make a deal, we'll come back after one look, okay? Zhu Lingling comforted Huamin. Huamin nodded slightly. Zhu Lingling helped her get off the bed and carefully walked out of the room. There was no one outside Qin Chu's room. Because he was still in critical condition, his family couldn't enter. The Qin family had gone out for dinner and hadn't returned yet. Zhu Lingling took advantage of this opportunity to help Huamin to Qin Chu's room. Huamin leaned against the large glass window and looked inside. Qin Chu lay there quietly with tubes all over his body. His condition was far more complicated than hers. Huamin couldn't stop her tears from falling as soon as she saw him. Girl, we agreed not to cry. You're still very weak. You have to take care of yourself so that you have the strength to take care of Qin Chu. Zhu Lingling gently patted her back to comfort her. Huamin only cried silently. After about 5 minutes, Zhu Lingling saw that her legs were trembling and knew that she was exhausted. Girl, let's go back. You haven't eaten yet. Let's rest for a while and come back later. Huamin didn't struggle. He looked at Qin Chu with some reluctance and then walked back. At this moment, they bumped into Lady Qin and Song Yisher, who had just returned from dinner. I'm puzzled. My son is so badly injured. How come you're fine? Lady Qin looked at Huamin coldly. Lady Qin, Huamin is already sad enough, and her injuries aren't light either, okay? Now is not the time to discuss this, is it? Zhu Lingling looked at Lady Qin angrily. Huamin, are you okay? Song Yishe asked gently as she held onto Lady Qin's arm. Huamin glanced at them indifferently and didn't say anything. Then he followed Zhu Lingling back to the ward. Look at you, you even greeted her. What kind of person are you? You can't even talk to her. Lady Qin scolded. It's okay. I think Huamin might be in a bad mood because her injuries haven't healed yet. I don't mind. Sure, you are too kind, Lady Qin complained. Then, the two of them walked to Qin Chu's ward. When they returned to the ward, Huamin's emotions had calmed down a lot. She wiped the tears off her face with a tissue and sat on the bed. The assistant nurse came in to take her temperature and give her an 4 drip. She obediently cooperated. Dr. Hua, rest well. Don't think too much, the nurse said. Huamin nodded slightly. Girl, is Kanji okay? Do you want eggs? Okay. Huamin nodded. Zhu Lingling gently fed her food. She ate in big bites and seemed to have a good appetite. Seeing that she was energetic, Zhu Lingling was relieved. After eating, Huamin looked at Zhu Lingling and said, Lingling, please. I want to see Qin Chu's chief surgeon. Zhu Lingling was confused. Go, call him over. I have something to say to him. Huamin's face was extremely calm. She seemed to have completely recovered. Okay, wait for me. Zhu Lingling didn't know what Huamin wanted to do. She thought that she just wanted to know about Qin Chu's condition, so she didn't think too much about it. Instead, she went to call Qin Chu's chief surgeon over. Since they were all colleagues at Southside, the chief surgeon quickly came to Huamin's ward. Dr. Hua, you were looking for me? Director Su, how is my husband doing? You don't have to hide anything, tell me everything, Huamin said calmly as she looked at Qin Chu's chief surgeon. Chapter 986. Director Su seemed to be in a difficult position, or rather he didn't dare to say it. Don't worry, I'm a doctor too. You can't hide anything from me. I saw that Qin Chu was still receiving blood transfusions and oxygen injections. His bullet probably hasn't been taken out yet, right? Huamin guessed. Director Su nodded. Dr. Hua, I'm sorry, we tried our best yesterday. Luckily, the stab wound wasn't fatal, or else we wouldn't have been able to save him. What's more difficult right now is the bullet next to his heart. Its location is too sensitive, it's less than a centimeter away from his heart. The surgery is very difficult. I don't need to tell you how difficult it is, you should know, but if it's not taken out in time, there's a risk of infection, so we need to do another surgery within 48 hours to remove the bullet. What's the probability of success? Huamin asked calmly. Less than 20%, I think? Director Su glanced at Huamin and said in a low voice. Huamin felt a chill in his heart, his expression also became very unpleasant. But let's see what the doctors from Jing City have to say when they come over tonight. Maybe they have a way, Director Su said. Jing City? Huamin frowned slightly. He didn't understand what was going on. You probably don't know yet, but your friend Su Yu used his connections in the military and invited the best surgeon in Jing City's military general hospital. He arrived in the city this afternoon with 3 assistants. If everything goes well, the surgery can be done tonight. Huamin remained silent after hearing this. She didn't think that Su Yu would be so helpful. How could a normal person use a doctor from the military? With Su Yu's help, perhaps the success rate would be slightly higher. However, as a medical student, Huamin knew how dangerous that position was. Okay, I got it. After Director Su left, Huamin sat quietly on the bed without saying anything. He only looked at the pure white snow outside the window. A few days ago, he was still holding her hand as they strolled through the snow. He had promised to be with her until his hair turned white, but now he was lying on a hospital bed, his life and death unknown. Qin Chu, you can't leave me behind. Otherwise, I won't forgive you even if I die. Huamin looked out of the window with a desolate look in his eyes. Huasiqian was the first to arrive at the ward. He was holding a large bouquet of heavenly fragrant lilies, which were very beautiful. Sister Mian, you look a lot more energetic today. He chuckled. Huamin glanced at him but didn't say anything. The old man doesn't know about you. I didn't tell him. There's no need to tell him. It has nothing to do with him, Huamin said coldly. I know. You didn't even tell your mother. I guess that you didn't want her to know. Hua Xiqin asked again. What do you want to eat? I'll go buy it. Yes, I have. That's good. Eat more. Look at your face, you look like a ghost. You don't even need to put on makeup for a horror movie. Hua Xiqin tried to make Huamin laugh with a joke. But she didn't react at all. Those criminals will definitely be sentenced to death. Don't worry, we've gotten our revenge, Hua Xiqin comforted her. Huamin nodded but still didn't say anything to her. Revenge was no longer her concern. She was more concerned about Qin Chu's safety. Just then, Su Yu walked in. He didn't bring any flowers or food. His hands were empty. You're awake? He asked. Huamin turned around and saw Su Yu. He also had dark circles under his eyes. It seemed like he didn't sleep well either. Don't worry, your husband will be fine. My grandpa sent the best military doctor here. He'll be here in 3 hours. Thank you. For the first time, Huamin was so grateful to Su Yu. Even though the military doctor couldn't guarantee the success of the surgery, at least it increased the chances of survival. Don't be jealous. If you really want to thank me, ask your husband to stop fighting with me after he wakes up, and stop making movies to steal the market from me. Su Yu forced a smile. Huamin moved his lips. He wanted to say something, but in the end, he didn't say anything. 3 hours later, the military doctor arrived at South Side. In the conference room, Qin Chu's chief surgeon, Director Su, Huamin, President Wu, and the military doctor, Professor Feng, started a discussion. Professor Feng, that's the situation for now. What are the chances of the surgery succeeding? Director Wu looked respectfully at the old man beside him who was in his 60s. Professor Feng looked at the information in his hands and Qin Chu's CT scans. He didn't say anything. Professor Feng. Huamin looked at him nervously and asked again. Chapter 987. After a while, Professor Feng slowly raised his head and looked at the other 3 people. Finally, his gaze fell on Huamin's face. To be honest, it is indeed very difficult, Professor Feng said in a heavy tone. What are the chances of success? Huamin asked anxiously. She hoped that she would hear a satisfactory answer. She wanted to hear at least a 50% chance of success for Qin Chu to perform the surgery and take the risk. However, things often went against her wishes. Based on my years of clinical experience, the success rate of this surgery should be less than 30%. After Professor Feng said this, the others all gasped. Previously, Director Su said that the success rate was less than 20%. Su Yu spent a lot of effort to get such a famous doctor to come over. However, it only increased by less than 10%. It was still far from the 50% that Huamin had hoped for. Huamin's eyes instantly became extremely cold. Her hands and feet were cold as she sat there in a daze without saying a word. Huamin, don't worry too much. I believe that Qin Chu will be blessed by God. President Wu comforted her gently. Director, we all know that the saying, heaven blesses the good, is used to comfort people. Please don't say that to me. Huamin's voice was extremely hoarse, as if she could lose her voice at any moment. It was heartbreaking to hear. Director, Dr. Hua, what should we do now? Should we perform the surgery or not? Director Su asked carefully. It seemed like they had no other choice. If they performed the surgery, the risk was very high. Even if a famous doctor from Jing City came, the success rate would still be less than 30%. If they didn't perform the surgery, Qin Chu's heart would be infected 48 hours later. Then, the consequences would be unimaginable. Time is of the essence. Huamin, you are Qin Chu's immediate family member. You make the decision. President Wu knew about Huamin's feelings for Qin Chu, so he directly handed the power to her. President Wu, give me some time. I need to think about it. Huamin suddenly felt a lot of pressure. Professor Feng looked at his watch. Young lady, my suggestion is that if you agree to the surgery, we can start tomorrow morning. The human body will be at its peak in the morning, and it will also help our surgery go smoothly. You still have 1 night to think about it. The latest can't be later than tomorrow. Okay. Huamin nodded solemnly. After the meeting ended, Huo Mian walked out of the conference room in a terrible mood. When she returned to the ward, Zhu Lingling immediately supported her. How was it? How was the discussion? When will Qin Chu start? Let me think about it. Huo Mian's face was pale. Are you hungry? What do you want to eat? I'll go buy it. I'm not hungry. Lingling, you should go back and get some rest. You must be tired. I have an assistant nurse here. Plus, I want to be alone and think about something. Are you okay? I'm fine. I'm strong. I'm still that Huo Mian that can't be beaten to death. Huo Min forced a smile. I'll come back tomorrow morning. Get some rest. Then, Zhu Lingling walked out of the room. Before she left, she repeatedly told the nurse to take good care of Huo Min because she was emotionally unstable. After Zhu Lingling left, Huo Min walked to the window and stood there alone for a long time. She didn't even hear Su Yu knocking on the door and walking in. What are you thinking about? Su Yu's voice was very soft, as if he was afraid of scaring Huo Min. Huo Min turned around and smiled when she saw Su Yu. You're here? That smile was a little pale, a little weak, and a little thought-provoking. Chapter 988. For some reason, Su Yu's heart ached when he saw Huo Min smile. It was the first time that Huo Min spoke to Su Yu in such a gentle tone. She walked over to the cabinet, picked up the teapot, and poured a cup of tea for Su Yu. Try it. After drinking tea for so long, I still think Westlake Longjing is the best. It's light and sweet. You're treating me so well? Su Yu was surprised. Every time they saw each other, they would fight, so when Huo Min spoke to him gently, he wasn't used to it. What's wrong? Is it a crime to treat you well? Huo Min smiled. No, I just feel not used to it. Su Yu licked his lips, embarrassed. He didn't know how he got through yesterday. He didn't sleep well the entire night as he recalled Huo Min's crazy state. It was as if something was stuck in his heart. He begged his old man 3 times before the old man agreed to send a military doctor over. He even used a blind date in exchange. Su Yu gave it his all. He did all this for Huo Min. To him, Qin Chu was just a love rival. He didn't care if Qin Chu lived or died. However, he couldn't ignore Huo Min. Based on yesterday's situation, if Qin Chu died, Huo Min would probably go crazy, right? How could he bear to see such a smart and cute girl go crazy? That's why people say that people are despicable. You'll get used to being mean to you, but you won't get used to being gentle to you. Stupid girl, are you insulting me in a roundabout way? But I won't lower myself to your level. Who told you to be sick? Huo Min smiled and didn't say anything. Then she sat down across from Su Yu. To be honest, when I first saw you at Southside, I thought you were an idiot. Ugh. Su Yu didn't know whether to laugh or cry at such a ridiculous comment. What happened after that? Su Yu asked, obviously unconvinced. After that, my opinion changed a little. After a period of observation, I don't think you're an idiot. That's right. Su Yu said proudly. You are a complete idiot, Huo Min said. Su Yu. Damn it. Are you addicted to scolding people? Do you really think you can do whatever you want just because you're sick? Believe it or not, I'll throw you down the stairs. Su Yu said on purpose. You must have scolded me for being arrogant the first time you met me, right? Huo Min retorted. Yeah. I thought you were dressed like an Annie. The entire South Side is filled with uniforms and low-cut clothes, but you're the only one who's wrapped up like a dumpling. It's quite funny. Recalling the first time she met Huo Min, everything seemed like yesterday. Su Yu thought about it and actually thought it was pretty good back then. If he could turn back time, he would think that the time when he was hospitalized at Southside was the fastest time he had ever had. Because he could argue with that stubborn little nurse, she even used her power to take revenge on him, taking his blood and torturing him in all sorts of ways. Su Yu wasn't a literary person. When he first saw Nalin's If Only Time Froze when we first met, he didn't quite understand it. He thought that Nalin Chuanbo was deliberately exaggerating, but now he finally understood. If only he and Huo Min would always be the same as when they first met, how great would that be? He really wanted the time he spent alone with Huo Min to slow down a little, just a little. He wasn't greedy, and he didn't ask for much, that was all. Time is actually the most ruthless thing. It will inadvertently steal many precious things from us. I used to miss the time when I was young. When I was in school, I thought that the monthly exams and all sorts of exams were stressful. Later, when I entered society, I realized that everything is much more complicated than when I was in school. Exams are the simplest way. How can a genius like you feel stressed? Weren't you the top scholar in the middle school exams? Second high school razor blades specially recruited you? They waived all your tuition fees and even gave you a lot of scholarships, right? Suyu asked, amused. Huamin looked surprised. You know all these things from the past? Chapter 989. Yeah. I was interested in your past for a while, Suyu admitted generously. So you went to Xianxia's for noodles? Huamin asked. That's right. But speaking of which, is that noodle shop really that good? Why do I feel like they're just SOS? Suyu always wanted to ask Huamin, but he never had the chance. When he did, he forgot to ask. It was rare for him to bring it up today. Who said I went there because it was delicious? What's that? Suyu was confused. Because it's cheap, 2 yuan per bowl. The price hasn't changed for many years. You really want to shock me to death. Suyu felt like he was tricked by Huamin. He heard that Huamin loved to eat ramen from that restaurant, so he took Wei Liao and Tang Chuan there to eat. To be honest, he also felt that the taste was so. It wasn't as good as he imagined. But he couldn't say that, so he always emphasized to Tang Chuan and the others how delicious the ramen was. Tang Chuan and Wei Liao looked down on him, saying that beauty was in the eye of the beholder, while he was in the eye of the beholder. As long as Huamin liked it, he might even say that it was delicious. Of course, Tang Chuan was the one who said such tasteless words. It turned out that Huamin didn't eat there because it was delicious, but because of the price. He was really shocked to death. When I was in school, my family didn't give me much for living expenses. I liked all kinds of medical books, so I used my pocket money to buy them. When I didn't have enough money left, I went to that restaurant to eat ramen because it was cheap. Okay, you win. Suyu looked helpless. Huamian smiled and continued, after I graduated, I went to that restaurant to eat because I missed my lost youth. The past can't be brought back, but I can still miss it. So, when I ate it, it was the taste of my youth. Cough, cough. This time, Suyu was embarrassed. He had never attended school in number 2 high school, yet he still wanted to eat there. Was it really not because he was following the crowd? I think, you might be the weirdest woman I've ever met in this world, Suyu sighed. I think so too. Huamin strongly agreed with Suyu. Suyu looked at Huamin. At such a close distance, he suddenly felt very happy. Looking at her haggard and pale face, Suyu said, I'll ask my housekeeper to make some red date and lotus seed porridge tomorrow. You've lost a lot of weight recently, and you don't look good. It's okay. My physical fitness is very good. I'll recover quickly. Alright, then you should rest. I'm leaving. I'll come and see you tomorrow. After speaking, Suyu got up to leave. Suyu, Faced with Huamin's sudden call, Suyu stopped in his tracks. Thank you. Don't be jealous. I've never helped anyone for the sake of thanking them, okay? That's vulgar. Suyu, this is for you. After speaking, Huamin took out a bullet shell from nowhere. What do you mean by this? I said I don't want it. After seeing the bullet shell, Suyu's expression changed slightly. No, I don't mean to return it to you. I have a favor to ask of you. Huamin looked at Suyu's face and said word by word, What do you want from me? Tell me. Suyu slowly took the old bullet shell. It seemed like this little thing was particularly heavy today. His intuition told him that Huamin was going to say something bad. This was a promise he made to her. He once said, Take it. If one day you have a wish, come find me. As long as I can do it, I'll help you. It was as magical as Aladdin's magic lamp in Western mythology. Suyu could indeed do a lot of things. With this eggshell, you could write a check for 100 million yuan. You could also ask Suyu to make you a superstar. You could ask for an expensive sports car. You could also ask Suyu for a mansion. In short, this was a magical keepsake that could make an ordinary person rich overnight. There was only one person in the world who had this keepsake. That person's name was Huamin. Su Yu stared at Huamin's delicate face, waiting for her to tell him the story of her wish. Chapter 990. After 3 seconds of silence, Huamin said word by word, "Su Yu, if I die, please forget about me." What? Su Yu felt as if he had been electrocuted and couldn't move at all. If he wasn't hallucinating, he heard Huamin say, "Su Yu, if I die, please forget about me." "You heard me right, that's what I said. Take the bullet back. Think about it later. Let me tell you, I have a lot of treasures in my villa. Pearls from the Qing dynasty, blue and white porcelain from the Ming dynasty, bronze swords from the Warring States period, jade pendants from the Western Zhou dynasty. You can pick any one of them and take it away. They're all better than this." Su Yu thought Huamin was joking, so he wanted to give the bullet back. However, Huamin didn't reach out to take it. She looked at Su Yu seriously. "Do men keep their promises?" "Of course." "Then promise me." "But..." Su Yu stuttered. "You said that as long as you can do it, you'll fulfill all my wishes." "I can't do it," Su Yu looked at her and replied sadly. Forgetting Huamin was too difficult for him. It was too cruel. "You have to do it." Huamin stared into his eyes. The two of them were in a stalemate for a long time. Su Yu looked up and controlled his emotions. Then he put away the bullet and said softly, "Okay, I promise you." Huamin smiled slightly, "But I don't think you'll die. If you die, I'll go to hell and find the king of hell. I'll beat him up and drag you back to the human world. That's all, rest well. Goodbye." Before Huamin could say anything, Su Yu turned around and left. He didn't stay for a second longer. Sure enough, this was in line with Su Yu's temperament. Even the King Yenluo of hell would be beaten to a pulp. After Su Yu left, Huamin took off his hospital gown and changed into casual clothes. He wore a white cotton-padded jacket and a pair of white snowshoes. "Dr. Hua, are you going out?" The young nurse happened to be delivering dinner. She was very surprised to see Huamin going out. "Yeah, I miss my mom a little. But you haven't recovered yet. You can't move around." "It's fine. I don't drive. I'll take a taxi. I'll be back in 3 hours. Don't worry." "But..." The nurse was still hesitant. "It's fine, don't worry. All right, don't tell anyone. If anyone comes, just tell them that I'm asleep. Thank you." After speaking, Huamin turned around and left. As Huamin's assistant, the nurse felt that she was very reliable, so she didn't think too much about it. Huamin did take a taxi home. When they got home, Yang Merong was just about to cook. "Mom, I'm back." "Weren't you traveling?" Yang Merong was quite surprised. "I was bored, so I came back early." "Yeah, I don't understand why you guys are always traveling. It's the same everywhere. It's quite tiring." Yang Merong was very happy to see her daughter back. "Mom, have you eaten yet?" "No, I'm just about to cook. What do you want to eat?" "I'll make it for you." "No, I'll make it for you today." After speaking, Huamin took off his cotton-padded jacket, rolled up his sleeves, and walked into the kitchen. "What are you making for me? You're such a troublemaker." Although Yang Merong scolded him, she was quite happy on the inside. "I'll make dumplings for you. Do you have meat at home?" "Yeah, we do." Then, Yang Merong went to the fridge and took out some dumpling filling for Huamin. "It's ready-made." "That's great, put it here. Mom, you go in and rest. I'll do it." "What's wrong with you? Why are you acting so weird today?" Yang Merong felt that something was wrong, so she looked at Huamin strangely. "Nothing. I'm fine. I just wanted to make you dumplings. You've been cooking for me all these years. I want to give back to you and let you know that you didn't raise your daughter for nothing." After speaking, Huamin playfully kissed Yang Merong on the cheek. "This kid, seriously." Yang Merong muttered as she walked out of the kitchen. She didn't see that the moment she walked out of the kitchen, Huamin's tears fell like rain. "Mom, thank you for raising me for 24 years, she whispered as she peeked at Yang Merong's back. Chapter 991. Huamin rarely cooked because her mother was a great cook. Now that she finally had the chance to cook, Yang Merong's heart was filled with warmth. She sat on the sofa in the living room eating sunflower seeds and watching TV. She felt very warm. Although she missed Jixin, she knew that he was safe in New Zealand, so she didn't think about him anymore. The only thing that worried Yang Merong was that Huamin still didn't have a baby. This had become her biggest worry. Huamin was a master at making dumplings. After a short while, she made 40 white dumplings. Then, she boiled water and put the dumplings into the pot. Yang Merong was worried about her daughter, so she went back into the kitchen and stood behind her. "Mom, why are you here again? I told you I don't need you." Huamin chuckled, trying to hide the sadness in her eyes. "I'm worried that you won't make it right." "I won't. Then you know how to cook them, right?" Yang Merong looked at the boiling pot worriedly. "I do, you've taught me many times. Open the lid and cook the skin. Close the lid and cook the stuffing." Only then did Yang Merong nod in relief. 10 minutes later, Huamin brought out 2 plates of steaming dumplings and placed them on the table. "Mom, it's time to eat." Yang Merong washed her hands and sat down quietly with Huamin. If only Jixin was home, Huamin suddenly said, a little lonely. If he's home, we'll have to make 30 more dumplings, okay? He eats the most." Yang Merong smiled. Huamin helped her mother mix the garlic sauce and put a dumpling in a bowl. "Mom, try it and give me a good review." Yang Merong lowered her head and took a small bite, then carefully chewed. How is it? How is it?" Huamin asked playfully. It's okay." Huamin smiled. She knew that her mother was not the kind of person who liked to praise others. As long as she said it was okay, it was a very high evaluation. You should eat more. You don't look well, are you too tired recently?" Yang Merong's heart ached as she looked at her daughter. "No, it's pretty good." Huamin lowered her head and ate very slowly. In fact, she felt very uncomfortable at the moment. She really wanted to tell her mother that she was not her biological daughter, but she felt that it would be too cruel to say it out loud. It was better not to say it. If he couldn't survive tomorrow, then he would just bury this secret for the rest of his life. At this thought, Huamian raised her head and smiled at Yang Merong with tears in her eyes. "I love you so much." Why are you being so emotional all of a sudden?" Yang Merong also felt that Huamin was acting a little strange today. As for what was strange, she couldn't tell. It seemed like she was in a good condition and wasn't injured. "Nothing, I just suddenly wanted to tell you that I love you." Huamin held back her tears and forced a smile. "Oh right, you went on a trip. Did Qianchu go too?" Yang Merong suddenly asked. Upon hearing Qianchu's name, Huamin's hand, which was holding a porcelain bowl, trembled slightly. He didn't go with me, he's busy with work." "Even if you're busy, you have to take care of your health. Also, don't think that I'm annoying. Remember to take your Chinese medicine on time, take good care of your body, and have a baby soon." "I know, Mom." Huamin lowered her head even more, afraid that she wouldn't be able to control her tears. At this moment, her mother's nagging seemed like such a luxury to her. If she could, she really wanted to listen to her mother nag about her and Jixin for the rest of their lives, because a mother's nagging was love. If she didn't care about you, she wouldn't repeatedly emphasize things to you. After quietly eating dinner with his mother, Huamin washed all the dishes and wiped down the living room for his mother. By the time they finished, it was already 8:30 p.m. "I'm leaving." "They go home. Qianchu is bored at home, you two have to take care of yourselves." "Okay." Huamin nodded obediently. When Yang Merong walked Huamin out, Huamin suddenly turned around and hugged Yang Merong. Chapter 992. Then she gave her a big hug. Good night, rest well." "Okay, don't be so mushy, drive slowly." Yang Merong didn't know that Huamin took a taxi, so she reminded her again. Huamin immediately turned around and left, tears rolling down her face as she walked. Unfortunately, her mother only saw her back in the night. After leaving the neighborhood, Huamin wasn't in a hurry to call a taxi. Instead, she sat down by the fountain in front of Sky Blessing Court. Then she took out her phone and dialed a number. "Hello?" A sleepy voice came from the other end. "You're in the wrong position, get up and go back to sleep," Huamin said jokingly. "Sis, what's wrong with you?" Why are you calling me at this hour? Jing Jixin had already fallen asleep in his bachelor apartment. The time difference between New Zealand and China was 4 hours, which meant that it was 4 hours faster. It was 8:30 p.m. here, and 12:30 p.m. where Jixin was. I just suddenly missed you. What? You've only been abroad for a few days, and you're already sick of me. No. I just think that you didn't call me in the middle of the day, but in the middle of the night. As he spoke, Jixin crawled out of bed and covered himself with a blanket. Turn on the video call, I want to see you. Huamin smiled. Then, Jixin hung up and video called his sister. What the? You're dressed as a polar bear, what are you doing? Jixin was shocked when he saw Huamin. His sister was wearing a cute little jacket that very few people like to wear these days. She even pulled up the hood of the jacket and put it on her head. She was dressed as a polar bear. I just had dinner with Mom and was bored, so I video called you. I was wondering why you looked so familiar, so you're at the entrance of our neighborhood, Jixin said with a smile. How have you been? Do you have a lot of homework? Are you tired? Not much, I'm very free. The education here is different from China. I don't have to memorize all kinds of exams all day. Our instructors value creativity more. That's good. Huamin nodded. When I left, he gave me a card with 1,000,000 yuan in it. It's enough for me to spend for a long time. I think I won't be able to spend it all until I graduate. Brother-in-law still asked the finance department to give me 1,000,000 yuan every month. It's too scary. I'm not a rich second generation. I don't want to pretend to be a nouveau riche and live a luxurious life. I appreciate his kindness, but I really don't want to burn money like that. Well, Qin Chu actually gave you money behind my back. I'll teach him a lesson when I get back. Huamin said deliberately. Don't know. If you dare to teach my brother-in-law a lesson, I won't let you off the hook. Huamian, I'm telling you, don't bully your husband. Your husband is one of a kind, you have to cherish him. Do you hear me? Huamin smiled quietly at Jing Jixin's words. Don't laugh, I'm talking business with you. Do you hear me? I hear you, young Master Shi. I'll cherish you. I know, no one in this world will treat me better than Qin Chu, Huamin said sadly. Okay, let's not talk anymore. You'll freeze to death if you video chat outside. Plus, you're using up a lot of data. We'll talk again tomorrow when you have Wi-Fi. Jixin didn't know what was going on with Huamin, so he was worried that his sister would catch a cold. Therefore, he wanted her to go home. Jixin. Yeah. I mean, if something happens to me one day, you and Mom have to be strong and take good care of her. Sis, why are you saying such depressing things? Chapter 993. I was just making an analogy. You don't need an analogy. Sis, you'll live a long life, and I'll take care of you when you're old. Ha, even though I'll be 75 by the time you're 80, my love for you will never change, Jixin joked. Okay, that's all. Go to bed, I'm going home now. Okay, good night, sis. Jixin hung up, not knowing what was going on. Huamin sat at the entrance of the residential area, crying again. Today, Huamin became a crybaby. In the past, she rarely cried because she was prone to tears and had a cold personality. But today, for some reason, she felt that she was already blessed to have so many people by her side. Jixin, her mother, Lingling, Xiaowei, family, and friends, she had them all. These things gave her warmth that no amount of money could buy. She originally wanted to call Xiaowei and Lingling, but Xiaowei was too smart. She was afraid that she would hear something and ruin things tomorrow. Lingling, on the other hand, had taken care of her all night. She must be resting today, so she didn't want to disturb her. Half an hour later, Huamin stood up, wiped her tears, and hailed a taxi back to Southside Recuperation Center. Dr. Hua, you're back? The nurse was relieved to see Huamin. Yeah, did anyone come to see me? Yes. President Wu and President Hua came. President Hua? President Hua Xiqian. Oh, did they say anything? No, I told them that you were resting, so they didn't come in. That's good. Huamin pushed open the door and entered the room. She took off her casual clothes, changed into a hospital gown, and obediently got into bed. I'm going to take your temperature and draw your blood, Dr. Hua. Okay. Huamin obediently let her assistant do as she pleased. Then, she didn't think about anything else for the rest of the night. She fell into a deep sleep. She had to have a good night's sleep. The next morning, Huamin woke up at 6 in the morning. After she washed up in the bathroom, she took out a pack of cigarettes that she had bought from the supermarket downstairs. It was a thin, mint-scented cigarette. Jixin knew that she didn't like to smoke. She would only smoke when she was under great pressure and didn't know what to do. She leaned against the wall of the washroom and smoked one cigarette after another. She had smoked half a carton, however, she did not say a word, nor did she cry. Her eyes were filled with a calmness that had never been seen before. When she heard a knock on the door, she brushed her teeth again, rinsed her mouth, and walked out. Dr. Hua, President Wu, and the others want you to go to the conference room. All right. Huamin nodded. She picked up the milk and eggs on the table that her assistant had prepared for her to replenish her energy and drank them as she walked. By the time she reached the door of the meeting room, the milk and eggs had already been destroyed by her. Today, she seemed to be in better spirits than any other day. President Wu, Professor Feng, and Director Su. She walked in with a smile on her face. Huamin, have a seat. Okay. Huamin nodded and sat down across from the three authoritative figures. Have you thought about it? Do you want the surgery? If you agree and sign, we can start in an hour. I agree, Huamin said calmly. President Wu nodded. He knew that Huamin would agree to the surgery in the end. After all, if they didn't take the bullet, they would have to bear the risk of Qin Chu's death. If they stuck their head out, they would also be stabbed. It was better to do something quick. Although the chances were small, if they succeeded, wouldn't everyone be happy? President Wu, but I have a condition, Huamin added. Okay, go ahead. Huamin glanced at the three old men's weathered faces and said seriously, I want to participate in this surgery and be the chief surgeon. What? President Wu was completely stunned. Director Su and Professor Feng were also surprised. They did not expect Huamin to make such a shocking request. This 24-year-old girl said that she wanted to participate in this major surgery and be the chief surgeons. Chapter 994. Are you kidding me? How is that possible? Professor Feng had been practicing medicine for many years, but he had never seen such a ridiculous situation. A patient's family member actually wanted to participate in the surgery and even be the chief surgeon. Professor Feng, Huamin is also a doctor, Director Su reminded him. I know, but isn't she in the neurology department? The old man seemed to be very angry. Yes, she is in the neurology department. However, when she took the doctor's qualification exam, several departments wanted her because she is indeed very talented in medicine. She graduated from medical school and only majored in advanced nursing, but she is proficient in ophthalmology, brain surgery, obstetrics and gynecology, orthopedics, and neurology research and clinical practice. Our President Wu is not wrong about people. President Wu turned his head to look at Professor Feng and said, I'm afraid you won't understand even if I say more now. I just want to say that Huamin is a rare medical genius. At least in my life, I have never seen a doctor as excellent as her. I have seen her perform 2 difficult surgeries and save patients from death. This is the truth. The 2 surgeries that President Wu mentioned were the one when the pregnant woman was bleeding heavily and the other when Wu Xiaoxue was in a car accident. Both surgeries were performed by Huamin, and they were very successful. Therefore, although President Wu was surprised by Huamin's request, he believed in her ability. Professor Feng might not know the situation because he was a foreign chief surgeon. But, this is a bit ridiculous. We are not 100% confident. How can a young girl like her do it? Professor Feng was worried about Huamin's age. No matter how good she was just a young girl. How could she perform such a difficult surgery? Professor Feng, I hope you can let me have a try. I don't want my husband to take any risks. Although everyone is the same and the probability is less than 30%, I will feel more at ease if I do it. I just want to do it for him personally. But Dr. Hua, you're personally performing the surgery. Will you be affected by your own emotions? This is what I'm worried about the most. Director Su was also a little worried. This had happened in the hospital before. A certain male doctor operated on his wife who had been involved in a car accident. In the end, because of his emotional breakdown, the operation was not successful. His wife died tragically on the operating table, and the doctor resigned and wandered the world. After all, it was her loved one. She probably would not be as rational as usual to perform surgery on a stranger. I won't. Trust me. Huamin was a man of few words, but his attitude was firm. Professor Feng was very opposed to it, but after a 10-minute private discussion with President Wu, he reluctantly agreed. President Wu took the surgical risk agreement from his assistant and lowered it. Huamin, take a look. If there's no problem, you can sign it. Huamin took the agreement and looked at it. Then, he picked up a black ballpoint pen and signed it. He even put his fingerprint on it. Then let's go now, Professor Feng said as he stood up. The others began to prepare for the disinfection room. Huamin wore a white coat and walked to Qin Chu's ward. She wanted to take a look at him. The front of Qin Chu's ward was already crowded with people. Su Yu, Hua Xiqian, Gao Ran, Zhu Lingling, Jiang Xiaowei, Wei Liao, Mr. and Mrs. Qin, Song Yisher, and Mayor Song and his wife were all present. When Huamin arrived, everyone's eyes were on him. Huamin, what's the decision? Gao Ran asked. The surgery will officially begin in half an hour. What? Who told you to do the surgery? Didn't you say the success rate is less than 30%? Are you trying to kill my son? Lady Qin immediately went crazy when she heard Huamin's words. It's not that I want the surgery, it's that I have no other choice. Huamin looked at Lady Qin with bloodshot eyes. What do you mean you have no other choice? Stop trying to scare me. I think you want to kill my son and take the Qin family's inheritance. You heartless woman. Huamin ignored Lady Qin. Instead, he turned around and said to everyone, in half an hour, I will enter the operating room. I will be the chief surgeon for Qin Chu's surgery. After Huamin said this, everyone was shocked again. Why would you make such a selfish decision? Are you 100% sure? What if the surgery fails? You're being ridiculous. This time, even Qin Yuman couldn't hold it in anymore. He thought Huamin was being ridiculous. How could a young girl perform a surgery that even a top professor couldn't guarantee? Was she trying to kill Qin Chu? Huamin, calm down. Gao Ran, Zhu Lingling, and the others were also panicking. They didn't know what was wrong with her. Chapter 995. I'm very calm. Huamin smiled, and his eyes were unusually calm. Just like the Huamin that used to be able to deal with big situations calmly, the calm Huamin was back. But why did Lingling feel so uncomfortable just looking at him? Huamin, you're crazy. You know that even a military doctor doesn't have a 30% chance of success. Su Yu was also panicking. He never thought that Huamin would make such a ridiculous decision. Calm down. Qin Chu will be fine, we have to trust the doctor. Hua Xiqian said this. Other than comforting Huamin that Qin Chu was fine, he really didn't know what else to say. Because at this moment, anything he said was useless to Huamin. Don't try to persuade me, I've made up my mind. Huamin, what right do you have to make such a selfish decision? You signed the agreement for the surgery, but Qin Chu's father, Mama Qin, and I haven't signed it yet. How can you treat Qin Chu's life as a joke? Song Yisher finally couldn't stay calm. She stopped pretending to be gentle and became anxious. If Qin Chu died, she would probably be very sad, right? Song Yisher was already on edge, and now that Huamin said that he was going to perform the surgery, she became even more anxious. Even if Huamin was a genius with great medical skills, she still didn't want to believe him. From the bottom of her heart, Song Yisher had always been hostile towards Huamin, so she finally couldn't hold it in anymore. She ran out to question Huamin. I have the right to sign the agreement, I'm his wife. Who do you think you are? Huamin glared at Song Yisher and said word by word. Even if you are his wife, you can't be so willful. Shouldn't you discuss such a big matter with everyone? Hubby is mine. Why should I discuss it with everyone? Huamin stared coldly at Song Yisher, maintaining his arrogant attitude. Lady Qin was very agitated. She pointed at Huamin and almost yelled at him, "You're such a vicious woman." "No, I don't agree to the surgery, and I don't agree to the surgery either. I want to transfer my son to another hospital. We're taking him to the United States. Today, no one can stop me. No one can take Qinchu away. I have the final say." Huamin was also anxious. At this moment, she no longer cared about the opinions and attitudes of others. "Huamin, how can you be so selfish? Let me ask you, what do you plan to do if the surgery fails? How are you going to compensate us with a son?" Qin Yumin stared at Huamin and shouted. "Yeah, tell me, what do you plan to do if the surgery fails? Are you going to run away with the inheritance?" Lady Qin cried. Song Yishe supported Lady Qin and glared at Huamin with hatred in her eyes. It was as if Huamin walked into the surgery room to kill Qin Chu. "Mian, I don't think you should do the surgery. I think a military doctor would be more reliable." "It's not that I don't trust your medical skills, I just think that you care too much about Qin Chu. I'm afraid that you'll be emotional." Jiang Shaowei said this. Like Professor Feng, she was afraid that Huamin's emotions would affect the surgery. Jiang Shaowei was also a psychologist, so she understood a lot of things. "I won't." Huamin glanced at Jiang Shaowei, his eyes as calm as ever. "Huamin, I think a military doctor would be a good choice. You don't have to do it yourself, it's too risky. What if something goes wrong? You'll regret it." Gao Ran also tried to persuade him. "There's no what if," Huamin denied coldly. "That's better than a song. Let me ask you, what if something happens to Qin Chu? Can you bear the responsibility?" Song Yishe looked at Huamin and asked in annoyance. She was also so angry that her face turned green. She didn't think that Huamin would be so vicious at the last minute. It was as if he had made up his mind. Everyone in the room tried to persuade him not to do it, but he insisted on going against the whole world. His stubbornness was shocking. Huamin stood outside Qin Chu's room and looked at everyone present. Then he said word by word, "If the surgery fails, I won't come out alive. That's the worst outcome." Chapter 996. Before anyone could react, Huamin turned around and walked into Qin Chu's room, locking the door from the inside. Qin Chu's room had a secret door that led directly to the operating room, so they didn't have to walk all the way there. After Huamin said this, everyone was shocked once again. Wuxia and Su Yu's expressions were especially ugly. They were smart people, but they didn't realize that Huamin had already planned for the worst. She was going to die with Qin Chu. Su Yu finally realized why she was so gentle with him last night and said all those weird things to him. It turned out that this girl had already planned for the worst. They never thought that Huamin would do something like this. Suddenly, Su Yu rushed over and banged on the door with all his might. "Huamin, get the hell out here. Make yourself clear." "Lord Su, don't be impulsive." Wei Liao tried to persuade Su Yu. "How can I not be impulsive? This silly girl is going to die for love." "What do you mean die for love? Don't make it sound so bad. Qin Chu will be fine." Song Yishe couldn't stand Su Yu's words, so she pouted and complained. "Shut your mouth." Su Yu turned around and glared at Song Yishe. If she wasn't a woman, he would have gone berserk. Mayor Song saw the situation and immediately pulled his daughter back. Sure, don't say anything," Mayor Song tried to persuade her. Seeing Su Yu like this, Song Yishe was a little scared, so she took a few steps back and didn't dare to interrupt. Wuxia leaned against the wall in the hallway, his face pale. This girl made such a decision without any warning, and she didn't want to tell him at all. She did not even have the chance to say goodbye. If Qin Chu's operation failed, then he was afraid that he would never see Huamin again. She was as stubborn as a bull. She was not joking about what she had said. She would definitely do it. Wuxia suddenly regretted believing the nurse when he came to see her last night. He did not even go in to check on her. If he had seen Huamin acting strangely at that time, he would have thought of a way to stop her. Even if he had to tie her up, he wouldn't let her take the risk. The success rate of Qin Chu's surgery was less than 30%. In other words, the chances of Huamin coming out alive today were also less than 30%. This was simply unacceptable. Although he didn't want Qin Chu to wake up, Huamin was also involved. Helpless, Huasiqian silently prayed that Qin Chu would succeed. After all, he really didn't want to lose Huamin. What? Does that woman have any respect for the law? She just went in and didn't even open the door for us. She didn't even let us see our son. How inhumane. When she comes out, I'll teach her a lesson. Lady Qin was still yelling. Jiang Shaowei couldn't stand it anymore. She walked over, pointed at Lady Qin's nose, and said, "Shut up. Who are you talking about?" Lady Qin's face was filled with anger. "I'm talking about you, you old bitch. Do you really think that Huamin is afraid of you? He just doesn't want to lower himself to your level because you're Qin Chu's mother. Look at you, you've gone from bad to worse. Look at the situation right now. Your son might not even wake up, but you still have the heart to scold Huamin? You old lady, I realize that you're the worst mother-in-law in the world. Have you lived your entire life complaining without a single second of happiness? What right do you have to talk to me like that? So what if I'm scolding Huamin? What does that have to do with you?" Lady Qin raised her voice as well. She looked like she was going to go against Jiang Shaowei. This was already the second time they had argued. The two women didn't like each other and were holding back their anger. Jiang Shaowei yelled angrily, "Let me ask all of you here today, if Qin Chu dies, Huamin will be buried with him. Can any of you do that? If anyone can, step forward and make a promise. If you can, even I, Jiang Shaowei, will kowtow to her and call her ancestor, let alone Huamin." After Jiang Shaowei finished speaking, the entire room fell silent. Chapter 997. Lady Qin, can you do it? If Qin Chu doesn't come out today, can you commit suicide? Lady Qin bit her lip and didn't say anything, but it was obvious that she wasn't confident enough. Can you? If Qin Chu dies here today, can you die with him and be cremated together? Jiang Shaowei looked at Song Yishe. Song Yishe was so scared that she took 2 steps back and hid behind Lady Song. President Qin, can you do it? Can you do this for your son? Live and die together? Jiang Shaowei glared at Qin Yumin and questioned him. Qin Yumin shook his head. He couldn't. It wasn't that he didn't love his son, but he still had the GK Empire and his wife to take care of. Anyways, he had too many concerns. None of you can do it, right? If you can't, then shut up. None of you have the right to criticize Huamin, because she can do what you can't. She has her mother, her brother, her friends, her favorite job, her favorite food, and her favorite food. She likes to live in this world, but to her, Qin Chu is more important than anything else. She can't care about anything else. Jiang Shaowei roared fiercely, "Slight, please be careful not to disturb the baby," Wei Liao reminded her. "Get out of my way." Jiang Shaowei was so angry that she didn't even care about Wei Liao. She was so angry that she was drowning in the sadness of Huamin entering the ore, but she couldn't help but watch as these people continued to criticize Huamin. Life was the most precious thing in the world, but Huamin was willing to throw it away for Qin Chu. This was something that even Qin Chu's parents couldn't do. From now on, until the end of the surgery, if anyone dares to criticize Huamin again, I'll tear their mouth apart. I mean it. Jiang Shaowei threatened. Everyone fell silent. Lady Qin couldn't be arrogant anymore. She turned her head and didn't say anything. Song Yishe also stopped showing off and hid behind her parents. In the face of life and death, everyone was afraid of everyone. Huamin was also afraid of death, but compared to death, she was more afraid of losing Qin Chu. Jiang Shaowei's anger suppressed the crowd. Zhu Lingling walked up to her and whispered, "You're so awesome. I like you so much." She even secretly gave her a thumbs up. Even Zhu Lingling didn't dare to say these words. She wasn't as domineering as Jiang Shaowei. After being scolded by Jiang Shaowei, Suyu stopped making a scene. The only thing they could do now was to wait and hope that they could come out safely. They hoped that Huamin could come out safely and not with 2 corpses. Inside the room, Huamin pushed Qin Chu out of the room through a secret door. She walked very slowly the entire way. Looking at Qin Chu's pale face, Huamin suddenly wasn't afraid of anything. She was happy to be with Qin Chu like this. Don't worry about losing me, I'll be with you forever. Today, if you live, I live. If you die, I die. After speaking, Huamin leaned down and gently kissed Qin Chu's forehead. Then, she pushed him through the door of the operating theater. Dr. Hua, change your clothes and disinfect them. We can start now, Director Su reminded her. Huamin nodded and began to prepare everything. She was the chief surgeon today. The assistant doctors were Professor Feng and Director Su, as well as 4 elite assistants. Huamin looked at the cold scalpel in her hand that was sparkling. She thought that if Qin Chu was declared brain dead after the operation failed, she would immediately stab him in the heart. As a medical student, she knew all too well where she could kill with one stab. After preparing everything, she slowly walked to the operating table. Let's begin, Professor Feng announced. Huamin's hand, which was holding the scalpel, began to tremble slightly. She never thought that one day, she would be able to operate on the man she loved. What kind of immense pressure was this? Chapter 998. At 7:30 a.m., the surgery officially began. Everyone outside the OR waited anxiously, their hearts filled with unbearable torment. Su Yu was restless. He bit his fingers and rubbed his forehead. Hua Xiqian, on the other hand, looked calm on the surface. He was playing games on his phone the entire time. He tried to distract himself, but his heart was in turmoil. Jiang Xiaowei was in a bad mood. She sat on a chair in the hallway and didn't say a word. Slightly, do you want some water? Then do you want to eat something? I'll go buy some fruit. You're pregnant. You can't hurt yourself like this. Wei Liao was speechless. He was depressed and worried about Qin Chu and Huamian, but he was more worried about his wife and children's safety. You're so annoying. I already told you I'm fine. Jiang Xiaowei was in a bad mood. All these years, Huamin was her only good friend. Although they hadn't known each other for a long time, they got along well. Therefore, she was extremely frustrated, especially when she saw Huamin make such a big sacrifice. She cried a few times. Zhu Lingling gritted her teeth and hid at the end of the hallway to smoke by the stairs. Her addiction to smoking was much worse than Huamin's. Huamin only smoked when he was sad, while she smoked when she stayed up late. Gao Ran suddenly walked up from behind her. He snatched the cigarette from her hand, threw it on the ground, and stomped on it. People who smoke often have black lungs, so what? They'll die young. No one can live to be 100 years old, so what's wrong with dying young? Zhu Lingling gave up on herself. I know you're sad, but don't be like this, Gao Ran comforted her. Stupid cop, do you think they'll come out? Zhu Lingling asked in a trembling voice. I think so. Gao Ran was also upset, but he still hoped that Qin Chu and Huamian would be fine. But why do I feel so worried? My heart has been hanging in the air. It's as if there's no place to rest. Zhu Lingling pointed to her chest. Tears casually rolled down her cheeks. Seeing Zhu Lingling crying, Gao Ran felt very uncomfortable. He took out a tissue and gently wiped her tears. Don't cry. I believe they'll be fine. Zhu Lingling couldn't hold it in anymore. She threw herself into Gao Ran's arms and burst into tears. Gao Ran, I feel terrible. I can't imagine not being able to see Huamin again. I've known her for so many years. I really can't accept this. I understand everything. Gao Ran gently hugged Zhu Lingling and patted her back, trying to make her feel better. On the other side, Mr. and Mrs. Qin also looked sad. After being scolded by Jiang Xiaowei, Lady Qin didn't say anything else. Sure, let's go first, Lady Song suddenly said in a low voice. Mom, the surgery isn't over yet. Song Yisher didn't understand why her mother wanted to leave at this time. Lady Song glanced around and found that no one was looking at her. She leaned over and whispered in Song Yisher's ear, I know a Taoist priest who said that when a person dies, wherever his last breath lands, it will be bad luck. Whoever it lands on will be unlucky for a year. I think Qin Chu is doomed this time. His wife probably won't make it either. Let's go first. Otherwise, if the surgery fails and he comes out to say his last words and then dies, It'll be bad luck for us. How can you do this? Song Yishir looked at her mother in disbelief. She actually cared about these things, and was superstitious about them. Silly girl, I'm not afraid, but you can't. You're not married yet, so I can't let you be unlucky. Let's go. With that, Lady Song pulled Song Yishir out. Mrs. Qin looked at the mother and daughter in surprise. More than an hour had passed in the operating room. They finally reached the critical part of the bullet. She looked at Dark Red's heart, which was beating vigorously. The fatal bullet was at the edge of the heart, and the two sides were connected to the blood vessels. Huamin, let's do it. We don't have much time, Director Su reminded him. Huamin picked up the scalpel and carefully moved over, to gently touch the bullet. Be careful, don't touch the blood vessels. Professor Feng was so scared that he almost had a heart attack. Chapter 999. Huamin was so nervous that her forehead was covered in sweat, and her assistant kept wiping her sweat. At this moment, she no longer cared if the person lying on the bed was Qin Chu or not. Even if it was a normal patient, this was a matter of life and death. How could she be so careless? Huamin held a miniature scalpel and gently moved the bullet. Then, she held a small pair of forceps with her other hand and gently held the bullet, slowly pulling it out. Although her movements were very gentle, it still affected the patient because the position was too sensitive. No matter who it was, no matter how good the doctor was, it would be the same. Huamin stared at the bullet, then made up her mind and pulled it out. Oh no, there's a massive hemorrhage, Professor Feng shouted. Quick, give me the hemostatic forceps. The assistant handed the hemostatic forceps to Professor Feng, and the old man began to stop the bleeding. Oh no, Chief, the patient's blood pressure is soaring, and his heart rate is abnormal. The assistant nurse was so scared that her forehead was covered in sweat, and her voice was weak. Report the data. Blood pressure 215, heart rate 179. Oh no, hurry up and transfuse blood and oxygen. Director Su was also panicking. When Huamin heard this, her mind went blank. Little Zhang, hurry up and help Dr. Hua to rest over there. Leave the rest to us. Director Su saw that Huamin was on the verge of breaking down. Her eyes were glazed over, and her breathing rate was abnormal. He immediately asked someone to bring her to the side. The most important part of the surgery was over. Huamin personally removed the bullet. It didn't matter who did the rest. Professor Feng and Director Su fought to save the patient. At this moment, Huamin couldn't hear anything. She didn't know if she was too nervous or what, but she seemed to be hearing things. Mian. She heard Qin Chu's voice. He was calling her, Qin Chu? Qin Chu. Huamin was stunned and began to look around. Dr. Hua, drink some water. You're too nervous. The assistant nurse poured a glass of water for Huamin. Mian. She seemed to have heard another sentence. She got up and looked around, but there was still no sign of Qin Chu. He was still lying unconscious on the operating table. Until 5 hours later, the surgery was finally completed. Professor Feng and Director Su successfully stopped Qin Chu's bleeding and stitched up the wound. The surgery is over. Professor Feng took off his mask and announced tiredly. Professor Feng he? Huamin walked over with a frown. The surgery was considered a success, but we'll have to observe him for 48 hours. Whether he can wake up or if there are any sequelae, these are all unknown. I can't guarantee anything. Okay. Huamin licked his dry lips and said one word. The surgery went on for 6.5 hours. At 2 p.m., the door to the operating room opened. Everyone gathered around at the first moment. Only the mother and daughter of the Song family were nowhere to be seen. Mayor Song had also left for work an hour ago. Lady Qin was extremely dissatisfied, but she didn't say anything. After all, her son's life was hanging by a thread. How is it? Doctor? Everyone rushed to ask. The surgery was quite successful, but we'll have to observe him for 48 hours. Whether he can wake up or if there are any sequelae is still unknown, so we can't guarantee anything. Hearing that the surgery was a success, everyone let out a sigh of relief. However, when they heard that there was more to come, everyone became nervous again. Where's Huamin? Su Yu anxiously asked. Just then, Huamin walked out from the back. She slowly took off her mask, and her entire body was soaked in sweat. Huamin! Jiang Shaowei was just about to walk over. Huamin suddenly blacked out and fainted on the ground. The 6.5-hour surgery completely broke her down. Chapter 1000. Huamin, how are you feeling? Suyu was the most terrified. She picked up Huamin without hesitation. She's probably just too tired. Give her an 4 drip and a sedative. Send her to the ward. Professor Feng instructed. Upon hearing this, Suyu immediately picked up Huamin and rushed to her ward. The assistant nurse put Huamin on an 4 drip and gave her a sedative. It seemed like she really wanted her to sleep peacefully. Qin Chu was pushed into the ICU and quarantined for another 48 hours. Doctor, is my son okay? Lady Qin asked in tears. Your son's surgery was very successful. If it wasn't for Huamin, it might not have gone so smoothly. All I can say is that he has a good wife. Professor Feng never praised people, but this was the first time he saw a 24-year-old girl so calm. She didn't care about what other people thought and insisted on her own opinion. In the end, she performed the most difficult surgery in history. At this moment, Professor Feng also believed President Wu's words. Huamin was indeed a genius, and one that was hard to come by in 100 years. Professor Feng was now in his 60s. He started practicing medicine at the age of 20 and had been practicing for more than 40 years. He had taken in many disciples and taught many students, but he had never seen someone as talented as Huamin. Not only was she talented, but she was also very talented. 24 years old. This age didn't match the calmness she showed during the surgery at all. Professor Feng, thank you for your hard work. The plane is ready. You can leave in an hour. President Wu personally escorted Professor Feng out. Huamin, it's a pity that she's not a doctor. You made the right choice, but it's also a pity that she went into neurology. She should have gone into cardiology. Professor Feng sighed. What? You want to steal her from me? President Wu laughed heartily. When she wakes up, you can ask her if she's willing to come to Jingdu to be a military doctor, Professor Feng said kindly. There's no need to ask. She definitely won't leave. This is her hometown. There are many people and things that she cares about. Professor Feng nodded. If I run into any problems in the future, you can lend me Huamin. That child is incredible. No problem. Thank you for your hard work, Professor Feng. After President Wu finished his conversation with Professor Feng, he returned to Qin Chu's ward. Now, only the couple from the Qin clan were left in front of Qin Chu's ward. Everyone else went to Huamin's ward because they knew that Qin Chu seemed to be fine for the time being. Now, the pitiful one was Huamin. He had to bear a lot of pressure to complete the surgery. President Wu, when will my son wake up? Qin Yumin asked in a heavy tone. I'm not sure yet, but don't worry. If even Professor Feng said that the surgery went smoothly, then it really went well. The rest is up to him to recover. I'm sure he'll wake up. My son, he's very persistent. Qin Yumin looked at Qin Chu in the ward and felt very sad. The truth is, I have no right to interfere with your family matters, but I want to tell you that Huamian is a good girl. There's an old saying that goes, heaven and earth are our witnesses, and the sun and moon are our witnesses. You really shouldn't have treated her like that. I don't think any of you have the courage that she has. You have no idea what kind of pressure she's under. I just heard from Director Su that Huamin had a nervous breakdown after the bullet was removed in the operating room. She was in a trance and even had auditory hallucinations. I really pity this child. After hearing President Wu's words, the couple from the Qin clan fell silent. Lady Qin didn't seem to mind, but Qin Yumin felt a little guilty. We'll reflect on it. Qin Yumin regretted his attitude towards Huamin. Now that my son is fine, she's fine too, right? Lady Qin said unwillingly. Then you should know that if something happened to Qin Chu, you wouldn't have seen Huamin come out alive. President Wu said in a heavy tone. Inside Huamin's ward, Suyu looked at Huamin's pale face and felt as if someone had stabbed him in the heart. I've seen so many women, but I've never seen one as heartless as you. You're a cold-blooded animal. Su Yu cursed at Huamin. She would never know what kind of tortures Su Yu went through in the past 6 hours. Chapter 1001. He would rather go to the battlefield and fight a real war than go through another 6 hours like this. It was as if his heart was being whipped at every moment. The phrase, living a life worse than death, probably described how he felt during these 6 hours. Is Huamin okay? Zhu Lingling and Gao Ran walked in as well. They were worried when they saw Huamin suddenly pass out. She's fine. Didn't the doctor say that she's very tired? She's just very nervous and tired, Gao Ran comforted her. Jiang Shaowei and Wei Liao walked in as well. Huasiqian followed closely behind, but he didn't say anything. He seemed to be very quiet today. Seeing Huamian sleeping soundly on the hospital bed with a haggard expression, everyone felt their hearts ache. This silly girl? I don't think there's anyone as silly as her in the world. Jiang Shaowei was both angry and heartbroken. She's not silly, she's just too stubborn. Once she's set on something, no one can change her mind. She's terrifyingly stubborn. Zhu Lingling added, thank goodness Qin Chu is fine, or else, we might have lost her today. Jiang Shaowei let out a sigh of relief. Let's all go back and let her rest. She's been sedated, so she won't wake up anytime soon. There's no point in us staying here, Gao Ran advised. Everyone stood up and nodded. Only Su Yu didn't want to leave. Lord Su. Wei Liao kindly reminded him. You guys go first, I'll stay here with her. Su Yu didn't want to leave. No one knew how much he cherished the time he had with Huamin. Okay, you should go back early too. You must be tired after a day. Over the past few days, Qin Chu and Huamin's incident, no one had a good night's sleep. They ran to South Side many times every day. Even Jiang Shaowei, a pregnant woman, came in the morning, at noon, and at night. Wei Liao was worried that his wife might have a miscarriage. After everyone left, Su Yu quietly accompanied Huamin. The afternoon sun shone on Huamian's pale face, giving it a faint glow. Su Yu got up and closed the curtains a little, afraid that she would be exposed to the sun. Then, he sat down quietly on the chair beside her bed and looked at her quietly. It was as if he couldn't get enough of her. The military doctor said that Qin Chu was still in critical condition and that there was still 48 hours of observation left. However, since the surgery was successful, Qin Chu should not have any accidents. This meant that once Qin Chu woke up, this matter would be over, and he would no longer have the right to run around Southside to take care of Huamin. Therefore, he greedily wanted to stay a little longer, look at her more, and spend more time with her. It was better to be quiet like this. Su Yu felt like he was living like a madman. He actually didn't ask for anything in return and only gave silently. More than an hour passed, and the sky gradually darkened. Seeing that it was about time, Su Yu got up and prepared to leave. Before he left, he took off the bullet shell again and placed it beside Huamin's pillow. His movements were very gentle, for fear of waking her up. He said, "You're not dead, so I can't forget you. So this promise doesn't count. So, I'll still return the bullet to you." After he finished speaking, he looked gently at Huamin and smiled. Silly girl, sweet dreams. Then, Su Yu left reluctantly. When Huamin was at her weakest, when Qin Chu's life was hanging by a thread, Su Yu, his love rival, didn't take advantage of the situation. He was anxious as if it was his own business. He was busy everywhere, looking for the military doctor, begging his grandfather, and taking care of Huamin. He used to be the most hot-tempered prince in this city. He was also the most extravagant tycoon in this city. But because of such an ordinary woman, his life quietly changed. If he hadn't met Huamin, he might not have known what it felt like to love someone. If he hadn't met Huamin, he might not have known what it felt like to yearn for something but not be able to get it. If he hadn't met Huamin, he wouldn't have known the pain of lovesickness. If he hadn't met Huamin, he wouldn't have known that one day he could love someone to the point of madness. If Huamin didn't come out today and died with Qin Chu, he couldn't imagine what he would do. He didn't dare to think about it. Su Yu walked out of Southside lonely. He got into the black Lamborghini 6th Elemental and drove away. Huamin woke up 12 hours later. It was past 2 in the morning, not even 3. Dr. Hua. The assistant nurse heard the sound and got up in a daze. Where's Qin Chu? The first thing she said when she woke up was still Qin Chu. Chapter 1002. Dr. Hua, don't worry. Your husband is fine and the surgery went smoothly. He's currently in the ICU for observation. Director Su said that he'll be under observation for 48 hours. If he wakes up, he'll be fine. I'll go take a look. Hua Min struggled to get up, however, she felt dizzy. Dr. Hua, you're exhausted? I suggest you rest more. It's still early, why don't you sleep a little longer? No, I want to see Qin Chu. Hua Min stubbornly got up and ignored the assistant nurse beside her. She held onto the wall and walked towards the door step by step. The assistant nurse's heart ached when she saw Dr. Hua like this. She couldn't even walk properly, yet she was still worried about her husband. It seemed like she really loved him. Outside the ICU, Hua Min put on her scrubs and gently pushed open the door. Qin Chu was still lying there quietly. It was very quiet. She slowly walked over and sat down beside him. Then she held one of his hands. His hand was a little cold. Hua Min didn't know if it was because of the low temperature outside, but she held onto Qin Chu's right hand and kept rubbing it. She tried to warm him up. You have to wake up. Hua Min kept talking to Qin Chu. She hoped that he could hear her. The night was long. In the ICU on the top floor of South Side, Hua Min stayed by Qin Chu's side like this. Dr. Hua, it's late. You should go back and rest. Get me some glucose, I want to inject him here, Hua Min ordered. Here? The nurse was surprised. Yes, I want to stay with him until he wakes up. Hua Min said stubbornly. Dr. Hua, but... The nurse seemed to feel that something was wrong. Go, it's fine. Seeing that Hua Min insisted again and again, the nurse had no choice but to turn around to get the glucose infusion from the prescription and put it on Hua Min. She didn't have much energy recently and rarely ate. Her physical strength was seriously lacking. Glucose was the only way to quickly replenish his energy. However, this method was a little torturous. After all, it required acupuncture. After the assistant nurse left, Hua Min leaned his face against Qin Chu's hand. She gently kissed Qin Chu's slightly cold hand with the corner of her mouth, and a part of her heart softened. The moonlight shone through the window as she sang softly. You are my angel, the angel that protects me. From now on I have no sorrow. You are my angel, my happy angel. Since then I have learned to fly. Only after flying through the impermanence of the human world did she understand that love was a treasure. No matter what the world had become, as long as there was you, it would be heaven. Like a child relying on a shoulder, like tears relying on a face, you are like an angel giving me dependence, giving me strength. Like a poet relying on the moonlight, like a dolphin relying on the ocean, you are an angel, my first and last heaven. Hua Min really liked Mayday's songs. When she heard Angel years ago, she thought, wow, what beautiful lyrics. The lead singer must have fallen in love with a girl and wrote such a beautiful song with such a beautiful melody. She felt that this was the perfect time to sing it to Qin Chu. He was her first and last heaven. Without Qin Chu, there would be no beautiful world for her to speak of. Honey, stop singing, you're out of tune again. A feeble voice murmured. Hua Min suddenly got up. Her watery eyes were wide open, and she was ecstatic. Honey, you're awake? This was probably the most emotional moment she had been in the past few days. Chapter 1003. Honey, it's so good to see you. Qin Chu slowly opened his eyes. His voice was still weak. He seemed to have had a very, very long dream. He dreamt of his youth and those inexperienced memories. He dreamt of the school opening ceremony. He dreamt of the genius girl with short hair who wore a camouflage uniform. He dreamt of her smiling under the sun. He dreamt of her saying to him, Qin Chu, if I choose someone, I'll be with him forever. So, do you dare? He had such a long and sweet dream, and now he was finally awake. Being able to see Hua Min as soon as he woke up was already the greatest comfort for Qin Chu. Dummy, you'll live to be 100 years old, Huamin tightly held onto Qin Chu's hand as tears instantly rolled down her cheeks. Her tears fell like pearls from a broken necklace. She had been tense for the past few days, but at this moment, she was finally able to let go of all her emotions. She finally felt as if a huge rock had been lifted off her chest. "Don't cry, you'll become ugly." Qin Chu gently held onto Huamin's little hand and comforted her. She cried beside Qin Chu for a while. After venting her emotions, Huamin suddenly remembered something and got up to pour Qin Chu a glass of water. Then, she brought a glass of water with a straw to his lips. "Honey, drink some water first." Qin Chu obediently drank the water slowly. Professor Feng and the others all said that you might have to be under observation for 48 hours. This is a critical period, but I think you'll wake up. Huamin looked at Qin Chu and said softly, "I'm sorry. I made you worry." Qin Chu looked at Huamin with guilt. He could imagine what kind of psychological pressure Huamian had been under during the past few days when she was unconscious. "Don't apologize, it's good that you're awake. It's good that you're awake." Huamin grabbed Qin Chu's hand and placed it beside his cheek, as if no amount of intimacy was enough. After Qin Chu woke up, Huamin, who had been tense for the past few days, finally relaxed. She ignored her physical discomfort and took care of Qin Chu while receiving a glucose infusion. The assistant nurse was scared out of her wits. "Dr. Hua, you can't do this. Mr. Qin is awake. You can go back and rest." The nurse was constantly worried that the needle would roll on the back of Huamin's hand. The assistant had been reminding her carefully, but she refused to listen and ignored the assistant's words. She still refused to leave Qin Chu's side. "Honey, be a good girl and go rest." "I'm fine now." "No, I want to eat and live with you, and never leave your side." Huamin felt very insecure. Qin Chu looked at her, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. "But is it really okay for you to wear so little and walk around me? Aren't you trying to test my endurance?" Upon hearing what Qin Chu said, Huamin's face immediately turned red. "Come on, you're still thinking about this at a time like this? Can you please? Be a good girl, go back and rest." Seeing that Huamin was overworked because of him, Qin Chu couldn't bear to see her like this. He kept trying to persuade her to go back to her room, but, "No, I'm going to stay here." "What? Are you going to bite me?" Huamin was completely shameless. Even if Qin Chu chased her away, she wouldn't leave. She even acted like a pervert in the end. But was Mr. Qin someone who would be scared? "Okay, you said it yourself." After speaking, before Huamin could say anything, Qin Chu suddenly looked up and bit her lips. She was caught off guard. Dr. Hua, you guys go back to work, I'm going to go now." The assistant nurse was scared out of her wits. She immediately covered her eyes and ran out of the room. The kiss lasted for 2 whole minutes, from domineering to clingy, from reckless to gentle. It seemed like a long process. Originally, Huamin thought that since they were an old married couple, she wouldn't be shy anymore. However, she still felt her heart race. After a long time, Qin Chu finally let go of her and leaned back on the pillow. "You're acting like a pervert as soon as you wake up. You're so shameless," Huamin said with a red face. "Can I kiss my wife?" Mr. Qin came back to life and was still as arrogant as ever. Just then, someone pushed open the door and walked in. "Qin Chu just woke up and you're already acting all lovey-dovey with him. Is this really okay?" A hearty laugh sounded. Qin Chu and Huamian immediately turned around. Chapter 1004. It wasn't even 6 in the morning yet, but Gao Ran was already here. "How miraculous. Why are you here so early?" Qin Chu asked him. "I was on duty at the police station when I heard from the hospital that you woke up, so I immediately rushed over. I didn't think that you two would put on such a lovey-dovey show for me." Gao Ran was in a great mood. Although he wasn't as sad as Huamin that Qin Chu was in a coma, he was still very worried. Now that he heard that Qin Chu had woken up, he was instantly overjoyed. He didn't even eat breakfast early in the morning as he sped all the way to South Side. Huamin stood up in embarrassment. Gao Ran pulled a chair over and sat down across from Qin Chu. "How are you feeling now?" Qin Chu smiled. "I'm back to full health. This is all thanks to your wife." She was the chief surgeon for your surgery this time. She risked universal condemnation to perform the surgery for you and almost lost her own life. Gao Ran. Huamin anxiously blurted out. She didn't seem to want Qin Chu to know because she was afraid that his heart would ache. Gao Ran's mouth was on par with Zhu Lingling's. They were both on the same level as Huamian's. If anything happened, she would definitely expose him as soon as possible. Seeing Huamin's reminder, Gao Ran wasn't about to shut up. Instead, he said confidently, "Why can't I say it? It's not like this is something to hide. Plus, you should let your husband know how great you are." "Go on." Qin Chu looked at Gao Ran with a smile in his eyes. Huamin lowered her head in embarrassment. To be honest, she didn't think she was great. She didn't intend to use this to claim credit from Qin Chu. It was normal between husband and wife, wasn't it? "Qin Chu, let me tell you, your wife is incredible." The location of the operation was so scary that even the top military doctor that Su Yu hired from the military said that the success rate of the operation was less than 30%. Was it because it was close to the heart? I don't know much about this. Anyway, the surgery was very risky and we had to do it without it. In the end, Huamin decided to operate on you personally. She even said that if you live, she will live, and if you die, she will die. She did it with the intention of dying with you. Your parents were shocked. At that moment, I really thought that she was Athena. Gao Ran, stop talking nonsense. It's not as mysterious as you make it out to be. What Athena? What Nuwa? Huamin smiled shyly. It's true, you're as important to me as Nuwa. I finally understand why Qin Chu is so obsessed with you all these years. You're not human. You're not human, Huamin retorted, amused. Don't be in such a hurry, I'm not done yet. You're not human, you're a god. Gao Ran gave her a thumbs up. He thought back to the moment before Huamin went into the operation yesterday and admired her. Not many women in the world would dare to do what Huamin did. She was amazing. After Qin Chu heard what Huamian said, he roughly understood what happened. He looked at Huamin with heartache. She still looked very haggard. She was the main surgeon for this operation. She didn't want to leave his life in anyone else's hands. She wanted to be with him. If he lived, she lived. If he died, she would treat it as suicide. What kind of feeling was this? Qin Chu didn't dare to think about it because he was afraid that his heart would hurt, and it would hurt forever. Qin Chu didn't respond to Gao Ran's question. Instead, he asked, "How did you deal with the kidnappers?" "We're waiting for the police to sue them. They're definitely going to get the death penalty. They kidnapped hostages and injured people with guns. These two crimes alone are enough to get the death penalty, not to mention that they have a criminal record. There should be someone behind Zhou Guangwei. Did you investigate? She can't be that powerful alone." Qin Chu vaguely remembered that Zhou Guangwei mentioned something about a godfather. Also, the knife-scarred man seemed to be wary of her. "Even if you didn't say it, I was going to say it. I really did find out. Guess who that person is?" Gao Ran asked mysteriously. Chapter 1005. Is it someone close to us? Qin Chu already had a suspect in mind. Gao Ran shook his head. "You probably won't be able to guess. That person was one of your father's competitors at GK, Wang Kun. Later, he was exposed for bribing customs officials and fled to Australia with the money. He's been on the run for more than 3 years now. I heard that he's back in China, but he's not in the city. Zhou Guangwei somehow hooked up with him, and he used her to direct this whole thing." Did Zhou Guangwei say all of this? Qin Chu didn't think that woman's words were trustworthy. Gao Ran shook his head. "No, she didn't say anything. She only has hatred in her eyes and wants to kill your entire family. She's crazy. I only found out from the remaining criminals that the knife-scarred man has a criminal record and is a fugitive. He killed a family of 5 and fled to Myanmar for more than a year. I don't know how he hooked up with Wang Kun, took his money, and snuck back to the city on Monday to plan Huamin's kidnapping." Qin Chu nodded and didn't say anything else. "Did you catch Wang Kun yet?" "No, his whereabouts are secretive and hard to catch. Plus, we're not sure if he's in China." Gao Ran shook his head. Then if Zhou Guangwei is crazy, does that mean she can get away with it? Huamin was unwilling to give up. He knew that there was no death penalty for mental illness, so he didn't want to let Zhou Guangwei get away with it. After all, Qin Chu was shot because of this incident and almost lost his life. Gao Ran shook his head. No, there's no way she's pretending to be crazy. Even if she really is crazy, we won't test her. We'll still give her the death penalty. Don't worry about that. Qin Chu and I have been buddies for years. I'll definitely avenge him. But there's something strange. Gao Ran suddenly remembered something and said, "What?" Qin Chu looked at him suspiciously. The robbers this time, including Zhou Guangwei, were seriously attacked when they were in prison. They were beaten very badly. Someone must have instructed them to do this. Otherwise, those prisoners would not be so agitated. I wonder whose idea it was? Gao Ran calmly analyzed the situation. Could it be Su Yu? Huamin didn't beat around the bush and asked directly. I don't think so. If Su Yu did it, he would have killed them. He wouldn't just beat them up. You know Su Yu's temper. Who else could have avenged us? Huamian was also confused. Let's put this aside for now, there's no rush. Qin Chu didn't really want to know who did this. You don't have to worry about the city bureau, I'm here, Gao Ran comforted him. Gao Ran stayed for a while and even got a free breakfast before he left. After he left, Huamin came over to feed Qin Chu some porridge. Honey, open your mouth, Qin Chu laughed. I'm your husband, not your son. You don't have to do this, it's scary. Qin Chu was speechless when he saw Huamin take care of him like he was a child. At this time, the Qin clan couple and Song Yisher came in, so Huamin didn't care. He continued to feed Qin Chu spoonful by spoonful. Qin Chu cooperated and ate his porridge in silence. Ahem. Lady Qin coughed twice, as if she wanted to remind them. Qin Chu was the first to speak. Son, I'm glad you're awake. How do you feel? Qin Yuman and his wife walked over. Huamin placed the bowl of porridge on the cabinet and turned around to leave. She knew that the Qin clan couple didn't like her, but she didn't like them either. When Huamin walked to the door, Song Yisher suddenly said, Huamin, thank you for the past few days. Huamin, who was about to leave, immediately stopped in her tracks. She frowned slightly and turned around to glare at Song Yisher. Chapter 1006. What did Miss Song say? Huamin looked at Song Yisher with a smile, as if she really didn't hear what Song Yisher said. I said, thank you for your hard work these past few days, she repeated. Huh, you make it sound like I'm an outsider and you're Qin Chu's wife. Huamin chuckled. But I really didn't mean that. Please don't misunderstand me. Song Yisher waved her hands and explained to Huamin. Are you sure you didn't do it on purpose? Are you telling the truth? Do you dare to swear? If you're lying, won't you die a horrible death? Huamin challenged. Song Yisher's expression turned ugly. She was clearly put in a difficult position by Huamin's words. Sure. Come here for a second, Lady Qin called out to her and helped her out of the situation. Okay, Mama Qin, I'll be right there. After speaking, Song Yisher nodded apologetically at Huamin and walked over to Lady Qin. Huamian's anger gradually subsided as she turned around and walked out of the ward. She didn't expose Song Yisher in front of everyone. It wasn't because she was afraid of her, nor was it because she couldn't beat her. It was because she didn't want to talk to her. Although Song Yisher was a scheming bitch with a mask, she didn't go overboard on the surface. Qin Chu didn't have the slightest intention of protecting her. Therefore, Huamin felt that if she were to tear her apart too early, she might lose her reputation. However, things were different now. Huamin had just pulled Qin Chu back from the gates of hell. How dare she say something like that? Did she really think she was a big shot? She really took advantage of him. Huamin walked out with an ugly expression. She decided that it was time to deal with Song Yisher. Otherwise, that woman would really think that she was a pushover. Did she really think that she was a stupid woman and treated her like an idiot? After taking care of Qin Chu for so long, she said that it was hard work. Who is she? Did she have the right? Huamin lowered her head and sneered. Qin Chu lay on the hospital bed. He still didn't look very good. He had just woken up and his energy hadn't recovered. Chu, leave the company to me. Don't get distracted, just focus on your recovery, Qin Yumin said in a serious tone. Slightly Qin Chu nodded his head. Son, I was so scared this time. I don't even dare to think about what your father and I would do if something happened to you. As Lady Qin spoke, she began to cry again. Mom, I'm fine now. Don't get angry. Leave the rest to Huamin. She's very good. I'm sure I'll be fine. Huamin, although she's a little stubborn, she really wants your best interests. We've only just met her this time. It's really hard on her, Qin Yumin reflected. Just then, Lady Qin pulled Song Yisher over to the bedside. Song Yisher looked at Qin Chu shyly. She thought that Mama Qin wanted to create an opportunity for them. To her surprise, Mama Qin suddenly asked in front of Qin Chu, Sure, yesterday? Why did you leave early? You didn't even finish the surgery. Lady Qin seemed to be taking responsibility for Hua Mian's actions. Song Yisher's expression changed slightly when she heard this. She immediately explained, Oh, Mama Qin, the thing is, at the time, we were all very worried about Qin Chu's safety. My mom's not in good health to begin with, and she was overly nervous. So, my mom felt that her heart wasn't feeling well. I took her to a place to rest. Later, it was getting late, so I drove her home. Really? But why did I hear her say something about life and death? Did she think that Chu was dead for sure? So, she left early? Lady Qin asked unhappily. Although Lady Qin didn't hear what Lady Song said clearly, it definitely had to do with Hua Mian's life and death. She could tell from her expression that it wasn't anything good. Chapter 1007. No, Mama Qin, you heard wrong. My mom said that Qin Chu hasn't woken up yet, and if we all collapse from exhaustion, what would we do? As for life and death, I think she said that life and death are unpredictable, and that we should all cherish our lives. That's probably what you heard, right? Song Yisher tried to hide her smile. Oh, so that's how it is. Mrs. Qin replied suspiciously. Just then, Song Yisher looked at Qin Chu on the hospital bed and smiled shyly. Qin Chu, I knew you'd be fine. I've prayed with Jesus many times and silently prayed for you. I'm sure God will protect you. Qin Chu glanced at Song Yisher's face and said awkwardly, Thank you. Son, after you're discharged, take Huamin home with you. Your mom and I have decided to apologize to her. You can only see the truth in a life and death situation. Huamin has suffered a lot. You almost died and she went with you, Qin Yumin suddenly said. Song Yisher's face fell upon hearing this, and her fingernails dug into her palms. Dad, you finally thought it through. Your dad wants to apologize. I don't want to apologize. I'm already so old, it's like a slap in the face. Lady Qin seemed embarrassed. The truth is, it's fine as long as you don't hate her anymore. Mian, although she looks cold on the surface, she's actually a very nice person. She'll remember anyone who treats her well. It's not what you think. If you can resolve the conflict between the two of you, I'll be relieved. Qin Chu chuckled. I think even if Mama Qin and Mr. and Mrs. Qin apologize, Huamin won't forgive you. After all, she has a hot temper. If she says something too extreme, it'll be difficult to clean up the mess. So, you should be careful with your words, Song Yisher reminded them. She didn't know why, but she felt uncomfortable when she heard that the Qin clan couple wanted to reconcile with Huamin. Didn't Mrs. Qin say that Huamian was the most detestable and liked her the most? She didn't want to see the world at peace and happy family. That would make her feel bad. How come you seem to know Huamin better than I do? Are you close to her? Qin Chu turned his head and sneered at Song Yisher. This woman was disgusting. He was talking about family matters with his parents, but she was trying to butt in. Oh, no, that's not what I meant. Qin Chu, you've misunderstood me. Huamin and I are friends. After interacting with her for a while, I realized that she has a strong personality, so I'm worried that she won't give face to Mama Qin and Mr. and Mrs. Qin. If that happens, you two won't be able to back down. Song Yisher felt that she might have gone a little overboard, which was why Qin Chu was unhappy. She immediately changed the topic and took back her words, and continued with her pretense. I know my wife very well. I don't want outsiders to worry about family matters. Qin Chu's words made Song Yisha feel like she had been slapped in the face. She stood behind Lady Qin and didn't dare to say another word. Qin Chu was too powerful. If he didn't like what he heard, he would directly make you lose face. He wouldn't give you a tactful reply, nor would he be merciful just because you were a girl. To him, women who weren't Huamin were people he didn't need to pay attention to or care about. It was that simple. Therefore, he really didn't need to give face to Song Yisha. He directly retorted in front of his parents, making Song Yisha obediently shut up. Huamin didn't return to her room. Instead, she planned to visit Yang. Ever since her accident, she forgot to ask about the kid's surgery and recovery. When she arrived at the VIP room, she realized that it was empty. Dr. Hua? The young nurse greeted obediently. Where's the patient in this room? Huamin asked. Chapter 1008. He's already been discharged. Huamin was slightly surprised. He left the day before yesterday. Okay, I got it. Huamin nodded, took out her phone, and dialed Yingzi's number. The young lady. Sister Yingzi was now extremely polite to Huamin, completely different from before. This wasn't only because Huamin was GK's a young lady, but also because Sister Yingzi admired Huamin's way of dealing with people. Huamian was decisive, straightforward, loyal, and most importantly, resolute. After signing Yang, Huamian had been promoting him like crazy, helping him take his career to the next level. After Huamin found out that Yang was sick, she personally contacted the hospital and arranged for his surgery. All of this was done by Huamin. In all these years, Yang had never been treated so well by anyone. Therefore, he truly treated Huamin like an older sister. Sister Yingzi, how come Yang was discharged so soon? Wasn't he supposed to stay for half a month? Huamin frowned slightly. She was worried that Yang wouldn't be able to recover well if he went home early. The young lady. I don't know where the paparazzi got the news that Yang was recuperating here, but several paparazzi came to the hospital to spy on him. I was worried that the plan would be exposed, so I discharged him early. However, I also contacted his attending doctor. He looked at the CT scan and said that he's recovering well. We also hired a professional nurse to take care of him. How is he doing right now? Huamin asked worriedly. He's doing very well, a young lady, don't worry. Sister Yingzi's tone was gentle. From her tone, Huamian knew that Yang was fine. Otherwise, she would be the first one to worry. That's good. Tell him to rest and not to rush out. The company will arrange for him. Huamin nodded. Just as he was about to hang up, Sister Yingzi asked. The young lady. I have something to ask you. The truth is, there's been a rumor going around. Sister Yingzi paused. What rumor? Huamin slightly frowned. The rumors are spreading like wildfire. Some say that something happened to young Madam and President Qin. You guys haven't shown up at GK in a while, and I was worried when I didn't see you at Southside. I heard that the company has returned to the chairman, so did you guys leave GK? Or did something happen? If it's just a rumor, then don't believe it. President Qin and I just went on vacation. We didn't leave GK. We just took a break from work and asked the chairman to help us out for a few days. Huamin comforted her. I see. Okay, I'm relieved. After hanging up, Huamin let out a slight sigh of relief. Qin Chu suddenly disappeared from GK, and the chairman returned to GK. Everyone was suspicious. Many people in the company guessed that something had happened to President Qin because he suddenly left without saying goodbye and didn't even say a word. Even his trusted assistant, Assistant Yang, didn't know what happened. She was confused by everyone's questions. The good thing was, everything was over. She went back to her room and took a hot shower. She changed into a clean set of white cotton pajamas and a pair of cotton slippers. She really treated this place like her home. She even bought clothes for everyday use. Just as she was about to go downstairs to buy some fruit for Qin Chu, she bumped into Huasiqian in the hallway. When he first saw her, his eyes were filled with joy. "My little sister, you've finally come back to life. As her brother, I want to celebrate with champagne for 3 days and 3 nights." Hua Xiqian stood 3 meters away from her and smiled faintly. If she wasn't mistaken, his eyes were filled with love and affection. Just like every time Qin Chu looked at her, she felt like she was hallucinating. Chapter 1009. This was the first time that Huamin looked into his eyes so seriously. She suddenly didn't know what to say. In the past, she always talked back to him, but he never got angry. He was always laughing and joking around. Now that she was talking to him so seriously, she was really not used to it. "Thank you for your kindness, but don't celebrate with champagne. I'm not a high-profile person," Huamin said faintly. "You're so eloquent, I know that you've really recovered. You're bound to have good fortune after surviving a disaster." "Are you talking about Qin Chu?" Huamin felt like this sentence was more appropriate for Qin Chu. After all, he was the one who had just survived a disaster. "No, I'm talking about you." Hua Xiqian chuckled. "Are you going out in pajamas?" "You're wearing pajamas?" Hua Xiqian was speechless when he saw Huamian walking downstairs in this outfit. "I want to eat some fruit," Huamin said honestly. "Fruit? You have to go down yourself? What are the Qin family doing? Did they all come empty-handed?" Hua Xiqian was obviously full of complaints. They probably didn't think that much. They were just worried about Qin Chu's safety. Huamin found an excuse for the Qin family. However, he couldn't blame Mr. and Mrs. Qin. They were so scared that they didn't have the time to buy fruit. This morning, Lady Qin and Qin Yumin rushed over when they heard that Qin Chu had woken up. They bumped into Song Yisher at the door. The 3 of them came empty-handed and didn't bring anything with them. Huamian, on the other hand, was tired of eating plain porridge all the time. She wanted to improve her relationship with Qin Chu. "Okay? You shouldn't go out like this. Your immune system is so weak, you might catch a cold," Hua Xiqian said as he turned to look at the nurse on duty. "Come here." Then he took out a 1,000 yuan bill from his pocket and handed it to her. "Go out and buy some fresh fruit. You can have the rest. Don't worry about the duty station, I'll take care of everything." Because Hua Xiqian was the president of the Hua Foundation, everyone knew that he had a high status at Southside and had a good relationship with the hospital director. No one dared to question his power. The nurse took the money and asked weakly, "President Hua, what kind of fruit do you want?" Hua Xiqian looked at Huamian. "Ask her." The nurse turned to Hua's eyes. "Huamian, anything's fine, whatever." Huamian didn't know what she wanted to eat anymore. "Then I'll buy a little of each item. Here's another 1,000 yuan. Hua Xiqian took out another 1,000 yuan from his wallet and handed it to her. The nurse took the money and jogged out of the hospital. People who didn't know better would think that Hua Xiqian spoiled his sister, and in fact he did. However, his sister was only for Huamin and had no effect on Hua Yanyan. After the nurse left, Huamin didn't know where she was going, so she followed Hua Xiqian down the hallway. "You seem to be worried about me," she suddenly asked him. "Of course, after all, you're my only sister," Hua Xiqian replied nonchalantly. "Why do you hate Hua Yanyan, but treat me so well? Is it because the enemy of my enemy is my friend?" Huamin didn't really understand Hua Xiqian's thoughts. "It's not that complicated. Whether I like someone or not depends on my mood. Hua Yanyan is just an eyesore. Maybe it's because she's too stupid, but you're too smart. I always like to deal with smart people." Hua Xiqian smiled with one hand in his pocket. "I thought we would always be enemies." Huamin tilted her head and glanced at him. "So now, do you still see me as an enemy?" Hua Xiqian put away his playful smile and asked in all seriousness. It seemed like Huamin's answer was very important to him. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.